Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios, powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. Now, Andrew Salchunas, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
And a good Monday morning, Philadelphia. I'm Andrew Salchunas. It's the Midday Show here on 97.5 The Fanatic. And all of a sudden, it's kind of like Friday's show all over again, but now we have more information. Friday's show was me being down in the dumps, doom and gloom, the big dark cloud over top of Philadelphia, because there was a dark cloud for like 6 years, it seemed like. But that dark cloud was the awaiting of Joel Embiid's injury status and trying to figure out what was going to be going on. And remember, we got the report Thursday night that he was going to be reevaluated over the weekend, and he wasn't going to play, obviously, against the Nets, in which the Sixers got beat up by the Nets. So we're just kind of hoping, fingers crossed, that it's not that big of a deal, that maybe it's a 3 to 4 week injury, something he can just get through with rest, maybe some physical therapy. We read that tweet from that doctor that said if it is not a complete tear, obviously you could do physical therapy for 3 to 4 weeks. I was saying if it's 3 to 4 weeks, turn it into a 6 to 8 week absence. I don't care. He needs to be healthy come playoff time, because enough is enough. It's time to get out of the second round. It's time to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. It's time to try to win a championship, right? And this team was built for that. This team, with Joel Embiid playing like the MVP yet again, Tyrese Maxey taking that step forward that we were all kind of waiting to see if once James Harden got traded, and the depth that they had on this team from before the season started. And then even after the James Harden trade, this depth was what made this team deeper than basically any other team post-process. The deepest team, other than this one, was probably that first year with Bellinelli and Ilyasova. The most talented team, as we know, was the one with Jimmy Butler and Tobias Harris when they first got traded here. But this is one of the more deeper teams, and in this case, Joel Embiid is even better than he was in those years. So you're waiting for it. This could be the year. This could be the year. And I know I had the 82-game educational approach. But I'm sorry. Once more and more good things happen, I can't help but go, all right, I'm liking more of what I see. I'm liking more of what I see. But I wanted to wait until the trade deadline, which is this Thursday, right? And a week before the trade deadline, we get the news. A week before the trade deadline is when we find out that Joel Embiid is going to get a procedure done on his meniscus. So the tweet from Adrian Wojnarowski yesterday. 76er star Joel Embiid, the reigning MVP, will undergo a procedure this week to repair a left meniscus injury, a team official tells ESPN. A recovery timeline is expected after procedure, but expectations is that he will miss an extended period of time. So when you first see that tweet, you're like, oh, geez, what is this extended period of time? It doesn't mention whether it's a tear or not, but, we'll find out, I'm guessing. But then he follows up by saying the door isn't closed on an Embiid return this season, sources tell ESPN. But there will be a clearer idea on a timeline once the procedure is complete this week. Bottom line is, Joel Embiid's going to miss a lot of time. And so here's what we need to talk about today. I have 3 Sixers-related topics that I'm going to throw at you at the very beginning. Normally, I like to spread them out as the show goes on. But I have 3 Sixers-related topics that I want to throw your way. And it's for 3 different groups of people. It's for the diehards that are in every single night like me and Ray, right? And I know there's a lot of you out there that are watching every single night, have been watching every single night since the process days, right? Before Embiid was the center, we were watching Arnett Moultrie, right? Like, we've been here every single night for this. So Joel Embiid is going to miss an extended period of time. I told you the report from Brian Windhorst last week that the Sixers were going to be one of the more active teams come trade deadline, and that even meant with a potential absence of Joel Embiid, that they would build the team the way it's best suited for Joel Embiid, even if he was going to miss some time, right? Because once he's back for the playoffs, you don't want to have to try to recreate the wheel. No, you want those guys to be able to fit right into where Joel Embiid would have been, where everybody's supposed to be. And I think that's a good way to do it, because Joel Embiid is your best player. That's who you're going to work through. You're going to get him the football, the basketball. The offense is going to go through him. So I think that's the right move for the Sixers to do. So I liked that report from Windy last week, but we didn't know how long this was going to be. So For the diehard Sixers fans out there, and I know you're all diehard Sixers fans. I mean the guys that are and girls that are in every single night, right? That are watching every single night. That are watching on a Saturday against the Nets, right? Even though the big man's not playing. Watching the West Coast games. Watching Joel Embiid have his leg fallen on by Kuminga, right? With Joel Embiid out for an extended period of time, and let's say that we don't know if he's back or not for the playoffs. Do you think the Sixers should go all in still, trading for role players, trading for a big-name player, whatever you wanted them to do from the beginning, even before the Joel Embiid injury happened, do you still want the Sixers to do that? Remember, there was a thought before this season even started that the Sixers may have used this season as a kick-the-can-down-the-road season, pump the season away. Let Joel Embiid figure out Nick Nurse. Let Tyrese Maxey grow. Tobias Harris is on the final year of his deal. Why bother trading him for another star when he can go to free agency and you can sign another player with the max contract? Maxey's going to get the max, and you start fresh after this season. Remember, that was at one point the thought process. I remember having that show with Anthony where I said it might be the smart decision, but I'm tired of being smart. Those were the words that came out of my mouth. I just want to freaking win. Like, I'm tired of this, right? It's been a long time. So remember that in the back of your mind that at one point they were thinking of using this season as a potential punt. Not that they were closing the door in the championship window. They're, shutting it. No, they were just going to regroup after this season. The James Harden situation looming over their heads. Tobias is a final year of his deal. All kinds of stuff, right? Or it was supposed to be a big free agent class, even though that doesn't necessarily seem to be the case now because guys are getting scooped up. Do you want the Sixers to still go all in on this trade deadline, knowing or not knowing when Joel Embiid's going to be back? So that's question number one. Question number two is for the fringe fans. Those who are in some nights, out some nights. You're not going to watch the West Coast game. You have plans on a Saturday at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock tip-off. That's fine, right? 82 games. I don't expect anybody to watch all 82 games. I don't expect anybody to watch 162 Phillies games. The only team you expect to watch every game of is the Eagles, right? For those of you who are fringe fans, I'm not trying to take away your fan. I'm just saying you're not in every single night. How are you going to invest your time? I'm talking about the Sixers investing draft capital, right? Players, picks. How are you going to invest your time with the Sixers now that you don't know when Joel Embiid's going to be back? Because I know how a lot of people are around this city. I don't want to get my hopes up. This team was playing really well. And look, as soon as I got my hopes up, Embiid gets hurt. And I've been dealing with this for 7 years now, 8 years now, right? How are you going to invest your time when it comes to the Sixers for the remainder of the season with and without the trade deadline, right? Trade deadline's this Thursday. Lastly, this one's for not the people that are not watching, but I'll say the Embiid haters out there, because there are a lot of you. I don't shy from calling you out. I think a lot of you are ridiculous, but I understand that this is your time to shine now, right? Embiid's out. He's hurt. This is your I told you so moment. This is your I told you not to get excited for a 70-point performance. I told you not to get excited for witnessing history, right? When Embiid dropped 70 against the Spurs, I told you not to be happy because I knew this was going to happen. You should have traded him when his value was at his highest. I told you, blah, blah, blah. This is your time, right? For the Embiid haters out there, I want to ask you a question. Are you more interested in watching the Sixers now while he's out to see how they look without him? Because there are a lot of you that want to trade him. You want to move on. You want to start over. I remember getting emails of build with Maxey, Paul Reed, and Jaden Springer. Wow, that would have gotten you to a 10th seed. For those of you who have been wanting to move on from Joel Embiid, for those of you who brought up, I took callers just a few weeks ago of the Ben Simmons, Ilyasova, Marco Bellinelli run, JJ Redick run, because that's fast pace. That's today's basketball. That's the basketball that I want. I don't like a half-court basketball game. Okay. Well, Joel Embiid's going to be out for an extended period of time. And you're going to see Maxey. It's his time. It's his team, right? It's going to be Maxey with the help of Tobias Harris. By the way, Tobias, you better be freaking aggressive. I'll go back to what I'm saying, but Tobias, come on, man. It's your time. For those of you who are non-fans of Joel Embiid, are you going to be more invested, more interested in watching the Sixers now without him to see if your point is proven correctly or not? I think you're wrong. Without him, they are a play-in team. With him, they are a perennial top 4 seed championship contender with the right pieces around him. But this is your time. So I'd love to hear from you. On either front, should the Sixers still be all in on the trade deadline, which is this Thursday? I believe that they should be. And not for a superstar. I mean adding pieces to benefit this team once Joel Embiid comes back. I'm still all about Bojan Bogdanovic at this point because I think he's a guy that can score for you when Embiid's on the court, when Embiid's not on the court. He's a guy that can start. He's a guy that can come off the bench. He's a guy that can do a lot of things. I think you still need another ball handler to help out Tyrese Maxey so it's not just Patrick Beverley. I want them to still be active. I don't want this injury to all of a sudden put them off from making a trade. So do you want the Sixers to still be active come trade deadline this Thursday? For those of you who are in and out, every other night, where are you at now that you know Embiid's going to be out? And finally, for those of you who are not big fans of Joel Embiid, I know there's a lot of you out there. Are you now more interested in watching the Sixers to see what they look like without him? 610-632-0975. Get to your calls coming up next. We'll get to Ray's thoughts. We got a lot in store for you today. We had a big anniversary yesterday that we'll talk about and a whole lot more. It's a Fanatic Monday. Fanatic Mondays presented by Pierce Phelps Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors. Visit nopaybryant.com for flexible spending options on a new heating and cooling system. I'm Andrew Salchunas, the Midday Show right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
An Embiid injury update. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Netcoins. Take advantage of 0
It's 10:21 here on 97.5 The Fanatic. 10 o'clock hour brought to us by Window Nation. Take advantage of Window Nation's 50% off sale on all style windows, plus make no down payment. With no payments and no interest for 12 full months, call 866-90Nation or visit windownation.com. Talking Sixers heavily to start the show because of the news that came out yesterday. Joel Embiid getting the procedure done on his meniscus, and he's going to miss an extended period of time. Now, I will play it for you momentarily. Shams Charania, on his show with the FanDuel Sportsbook Network, he actually gave an update based off of what he is hearing regarding Joel Embiid. We'll play for that for you coming up momentarily. But here are the three topics on hand today to start the show. We have other stuff in store. We got some Philly stuff because there was some slop that was coming out this weekend. We have an Eagles-related topic that I'll get to later on this hour. Keith Pompey is going to be joining us to talk more about the Sixers coming up at 11:30. But the three topics to start the show, and I'm trying to hit three different levels of Sixers fans. For those of you who are diehards in every single night, like Ray and I, what do you want the Sixers to do come trade deadline time? I want them to still be aggressive with the belief that Joel Embiid will be back. Okay? I want them to go out there and get a Bojan Bogdanovic. Pay whatever you need to pay. You know, obviously you're not trading Tyrese Maxey. I'm saying, be big spenders because this year is the team that could actually go through if Joel Embiid is playing at that high level that we saw before the injury, right? Now, I know that's a big if, and I'm not a doctor. I'm not pretending to be one. So we'll see what it's like post-procedure, which I know that's kind of what we're waiting for. That was sort of the latest update was they'll see after the procedure is done how long that timetable will be for him to return. I'm going to go into this in the belief that he is back at some point come playoff time. Now, does he have a week to get ready, 2 weeks to get ready, a month to get ready, or is he playing his first game in game one of whoever they're facing in the first round of the playoffs? What do you want the Sixers to do come trade deadline time for those of you who are still watching every single night? For those of you who are on the fence, you can still answer the trade question. Feel free. But for those of you who are on the fence, without Joel Embiid on the court, is that taking away your enjoyment from watching Sixers basketball? And lastly, for those of you who are Joel Embiid haters, I know there's a lot of people that are tweeting in and going, well, just because I want to trade him doesn't mean I'm a hater. Okay, fine. For those of you who wish Joel Embiid was not on the Sixers, haterade or not, right? For those of you who wished going into the season, or maybe in years past, that Joel Embiid was not on the Sixers and that they made some trade, because that's what everyone keeps on saying. I mean, think about what they could have gotten in return. Why? Because he's a really good basketball player? You're telling me that they were going to get this huge haul. Is it because you admit that he's a really, really good basketball player? Like an MVP? And so when you trade an MVP, you expect a big haul, right? But no, you don't want him on the team. Whatever. Hey, it's your opinion. You're right to your opinion. For those of you who wish Joel Embiid was not on the team to start the season, are you now more interested in watching how the Sixers play without him? Because I know people still bring up the Bellinelli, Ilyasova days. I know that. Now's your time. Would love to hear from you on all fronts, 610-632-0975. Do we have the Shams Charania report? All right, here's Shams not long ago talking about the latest with Joel Embiid.
Joel Embiid has a meniscus tear in his left knee. He had multiple evaluations, doctoral consultations. He went through decision-making on whether you rest and rehab this meniscus injury. It's a displaced flap of the meniscus. That's a type of tear. But he decided to undergo surgery very soon. I'm told that the hope is that Embiid misses 1 to 2 months. That's the best case minimum scenario, and that would dictate a potential return late in the season. Only the severity of the tear, the procedure itself will determine exactly how long he's going to be out. If a full repair is needed in Sergio Michel, that's going to be a significantly longer recovery time period than just 1 to 2 months. And this is absolutely brutal for the Sixers because now Joel Embiid will no longer be eligible for MVP, but even beyond that, the way he was performing this year, he was on pace to be an MVP. He was on pace to be the scoring title yet again this season. His season is now in jeopardy. We know all along this year, I've said it, Joel Embiid has only been focused on wanting to win a championship, being healthy for when it matters most, and that's the playoffs. And he's been managing his body. The Sixers have been managing his body for that. And for it to fail on him now, it's obviously a devastating time for him and the Sixers. they will have a chance. If Joel Embiid's able to make it back late this season, they're going to have a chance. They won't know until the doctors go in there, perform that surgery, and see exactly how long Joel Embiid will miss. But at minimum, 1 to 2 months.
All right, at minimum, 1 to 2 months per Shams Charania. Okay. I'll say what I was kind of saying the other day. If it's 1 month, make it 2. All right? If it's 2 months, well, he's got to come back because 2 months from now, the NBA playoffs will be right around the corner because it's February 5th right now. So 2 months from now, if I'm just ignoring the fact that there's less days in February, 2 months from now would be April 5th. They would have 5 games left. They play April 6th, 7th, 9th, 12th, and 14th. I don't care if he doesn't play a game in the regular season. Bring him back come playoff time. I don't care. This team will not win without Joel Embiid. This team might not win with Joel Embiid, but this team has a better chance of winning with Joel Embiid at whatever percentage of health that he will be at post-surgery. Now, I'm not asking him to go out there 1 week after, surgery and go out there and play balls to the wall. No, I'm not expecting that. I'm not asking for that. If he is able to play come mid-April when there's still a couple games left in the regular season, okay, hold him off and let him get geared up for round 1 of the playoffs. 1 to 2 months, if not worse. And if it's worse, then season's over, and I'm devastated because it's another year where the Sixers won't get out of the second round, and we're all going to be miserable, and the conversation about trading him will only continue, and it's not a conversation that I necessarily want to have. I talked about it on Friday. When we were waiting for news on Joel Embiid, I didn't blame anybody for feeling a certain type of way. I just don't agree with trading him, right? That's just my opinion, right? I say that you are entitled to your opinion. I'm entitled to my opinion. I don't think trading him will all of a sudden cure all your issues with this Sixers team, that they're all of a sudden going to get out of the second round because they're going to build around Tyrese Maxey. I told you about my weak moment a couple of years ago when I was watching John Morant and Steph Curry go toe-to-toe in a playoff series between the Grizzlies and the Warriors, and it was just electrifying basketball. And I know that that's not the same style of basketball that the Sixers have with Joel Embiid, but what Joel Embiid does is better than what a lot of players do. It's different, too. Try beating it. When you have the right pieces around him, okay, so they could try to slow down Joel Embiid. He's now worked on his passing. There's guys that can actually shoot and score around him. It's not James Harden who has to have the ball in his hands. It's not Ben Simmons who has to have the ball in his hands and then doesn't do anything offensively. You're starting to build a roster around him that may actually fit, and I think Nick Nurse's coaching ability adds to that. So it's not my opinion to trade Joel Embiid. But I know that I can't blame anybody for feeling a certain type of way at this point when it happens again. But my biggest question for those of you who wanted to trade him in the past, I really want to hear from you the most today. I want to hear from all Sixers fans. But I really want to hear from the Sixers fans that have been wanting to move on from Joel Embiid. Wouldn't, be upset the day he's gone. Well, he's going to be out for 1 to 2 months minimum per Shams Charania. Now's your time to sit back and watch what the Sixers look like without him. Are you interested in that? I would think that you are. Remember, one of the other messages I've had this season was keep that same energy, right? For those of you who rip Joel Embiid constantly, well, he's not there anymore for 1 to 2 months. So will you now have the energy of, all right, I'm going to watch the Sixers and evaluate how they look without him? Would love to hear how interested you are. 610-632-0975. Ray, good morning. Happy Monday.
It's not a good morning.
No, it's not. No, it sucks. Does that clip make you feel worse?
Yeah, and in a weird way, because the 1 to 2 month is the optimist in my brain is 1 month, they'll be able to get him back early on in March, and early on in March, they'll still be able to get him conditioned, ready to go. And then I really think about it. Oh, yeah, is all likelihood are they going to end up with this being a 1 month thing?
No, this is
going to be closer. I want
2 months.
And it's wording. It's weird things that get me, but 6 to 8 weeks. I'd love to get that.
No, it's because you get. You've heard this before, right? We've gone through this with not just with Joel Embiid, with the Sixers.
Be
right?
reevaluated in 1 to 2 weeks.
And then all of a sudden it's, exactly. And
this
we go down the
reevaluation thing.
stands. Yeah.
This was also the very, the most eloquent way of saying he's got a tear in his meniscus and needs surgery of all time. A displaced flap of the left meniscus.
How are your flaps doing?
I don't know, man.
You got good flaps?
I never really checked on my flaps. I'll study that, get back to you on that. But a displaced flap and needs a procedure. Okay, he's getting surgery and a tear for his meniscus. Like, it's almost like Shams got it right the first time.
Right, and
with
then
the
remember
first
he deleted it?
And it was like, oh, no, too soon for that. And I get, like, listen, I get that they have to collect as much information, the swelling, like, all those things. You know, I'm not saying that, oh, they're trying to lie to you. I'm just saying, like, the way this has all gone down, you start to get nervous about it. And now you have to make a decision on the deadline while you're still waiting to see what the best treatment, what the best course of action for him forward is. It's just an incredibly frustrating timeline of events for an organization that has left you incredibly frustrated with the timeline for the last 6 years.
Right. And that's the thing that sucks. And that's why I can't, going back to our conversation on Friday, you were getting heated. Angry Ray.
I didn't listen.
I was worried about you. You were worried about me because I was just miserable. I was worried about you because you were angry with
I don't usually get upset.
I go back to what I said on Friday. I can't blame anybody for feeling the way that they feel. I might not agree with them. Like right away, my buddy Lenny checks in. Love you, Lenny. This is a terrible take, bro. If you trade him, you're going to get quality players in return. Nobody's saying to release him. Just go back and look at the big name player that's been traded. The haul isn't that great. Right? The haul really isn't all that great. Okay, so the Nets got Mikal Bridges. Great. The Nets suck. Right? Now, they beat the Sixers' ass the other day, but the Nets suck. Like, these trades, yeah, you might get a good basketball player in return. Like a Mikal Bridges, he's an all-star, right? He's a very good basketball player. Is Mikal Bridges going to lead your franchise to some championship? No. He'll win you enough games where you're not in the lottery. Now you have to hope that you're a destination for a free agent. You have to hope that Mike Muscala hits a three for you and you get a Tyrese Maxey, right, randomly. These trades don't really work out for these teams. Okay, so maybe the Pelicans, when they trade Anthony, how long ago was that? 4 or 5 years ago?
He's been in LA since 1920.
The bubble.
So,
they won the championship, the Mickey Mouse championship, right? Mm-hmm. So the Pelicans they got some nice pieces out of it. What have the Pelicans won anything? Will they win anything? No. The Lakers won with Anthony Davis. Now they also had LeBron James, which helps, but a lot of times the team that trades away the big name player doesn't really get that overhaul that a lot of people talk about. They really don't.
And everyone that's just, oh, yeah, trade him. I mean, at this point, into this season with the conversation about, about this team, about what would come forward from this group, like, you have to make a decision on Maxey getting money at some point. You have to make a decision about, like, the nucleus that you would build around following trading Embiid. We're very good at getting rid of the guy. We're not good at the whole replacing the guy. Like, are you just accepting that it's over? Like, for people that are just accepting that it's over, why?
Right.
Why would you accept that it's over? You have a guy that showed you this year he was getting better.
Well, that's the thing, because it is same old in terms of the injury thing. Like, it is the same story. I can see that you're starting to get angry again, but it is the same story.
I get it that people are annoyed by the storyline and annoyed by the consistency of it. I'm just curious for you, the alternative that you see is better. The idea that in 6 years you'll have a frontline talent that'll be able to have them compete. Is that what your hope is? Because again, you can be frustrated and stuck in this murky, disgusting, frustrating timeline where he continues to get hurt, and we continue to talk about this the whole time. But until you show me the green grass, I'm just going to tell you that you keep daydreaming of that. There is not a world, even the teams that have won championships, and we've seen dynasties and they've done their thing, but teams that have broken through and had their big win, they go through frustrations year in and year out. Look at the Bucks right now. They fired a coach at 30-13, and right now they're losing more. They're 1-3 with Doc Rivers. That fan base has a ring and they're frustrated.
By the way,
awesome,
incredible.
I kind of want to work that in there just to take a shot at him.
Incredible loss for the Bucks.
Lakers fans, with LeBron, they've had their frustration of what the team is. Now they've made runs, they've gotten further than Embiid, but there's frustration in any fan base. The thing for me is keeping grounded in the reality of what you set forward. If you believe they should trade him, I need an actual thought process that isn't just we're going to nail every draft pick.
Well, right. So, one of the tweets that I got was from our man Sinclair, who I've referenced Sinclair multiple times as the season's gone on, and it sucks because Sinclair, who was very down in the dumps before the season started, 2-3 weeks ago started showing love. Like, he always loved the Sixers. He's never stopped loving the Sixers, but started showing excitement again. And now I feel bad for him because this is like Sinclair is the prime example, right? Like, going into the season, he was down in the dumps, right? Wake me up come third round, wake me up come NBA Finals. It's finals or bust at this point. I'm not going to get excited for anything. And then Embiid dropped 70, and he celebrated it, right? He wasn't one of those guys that said, so what, it's January, right? Like, he celebrated it. So he checks in with what he wanted to do, and I remember him saying this. He wanted the Sixers to trade him to Portland in a package that got them the third overall pick, so that you were building with Tyrese Maxey and whoever that they coveted with the third overall pick. And then he continues by saying, but only because he's always hurt when you need him most. I'm not and never have been an Embiid hater, but it's just reality at this point. He's always hurt. You can't win with your best player hurt. I'm truly convinced the only way you can win with him is if you have another legit superstar type player, which is why I was willing to trade Maxey to get Kevin Durant here, if that was an option. Love Joe, but the guy cannot physically make it through an 82-game season plus playoffs. Like, he's not that's a very logical response. I didn't agree with it. I still don't agree with it because now you're starting over with the third overall pick, right? And again, you went through the picks last week.
Hey, here you
went
go.
through the last, 5 years of lottery picks?
I went through the 4 years in which it was 14,
Where the
15,
Sixers
16,
were
17, where the Sixers were in on it, year in and year out. And I went through the 40 players you get in that top 10 for those 4 years. And it's not, you have a couple of all-stars. You have franchise centerpieces, Tatum, Embiid, Brown. De'Aaron Fox has turned himself, is a nice player to have. Like, you have solid players at the top there, but also you have a lot of misses.
Yeah.
And it's not, again.
Hey, we know all about it because
Right.
the Sixers had some of those misses.
Correct. Even one of the all-stars that we talked about was Ben Simmons.
Right.
And then you see how that went. So, I mean, yeah, sure. Trade him with a package that's centered on the third overall pick. You want Scoot Henderson, one of the Thompsons, Anthony
Right.
Black. And again, these are guys that are going to go on and have careers in this league. It's not, these guys are all bust. But it's like, what ends up...
Evan Turner had a career in this league.
Yeah, what ends
what
up
I mean?
coming together to be equal to the value of Joel Embiid.
Right, exactly.
And that, to me, you're not going
No,
to
and that
equal
never
that.
really does happen. And beat aside, you rarely see where the trade happens and the team that traded away the star player benefits.
And
from it.
who at this point, I know Gobert, people do, the Gobert package. Well, we were all shocked about it because of the price it was. Do you think another team is sitting there watching the Gobert package being like, yeah, I'm giving up five first?
The guru, who we'll get to coming up on the phones, tweeted in earlier. He's a great offensive basketball player whose style of play has been proven time and time again to not work come playoff time. We get outscored, period. So we should have taken from the dumb teams who haven't realized that yet. We see him every night. I get what he's saying in terms of the Gobert thing. That trade for the Timberwolves was dumb. Now the T-Wolves are on top of the Western Conference, but I still didn't understand that trade even a little bit because it's a guy that just plays defense all the time. Maybe that's what they wanted. I don't know. All right, let's go to the phones. I have a report from Dr. Chow, the pro football doc. He weighed in on the situation. But before I get to him, we have another person that works in medicine that called in. So I'm going to go to Ryan first in South Jersey. What's up, Ryan?
Hey, what's going on? How you doing?
How you doing, Ryan?
I'm doing well, man. It's Monday morning. How are you?
I'm waiting for the collapse of the Sixers season to be thrown on me. But other than that, I'm great.
Well, that's okay. I know that the reports coming out were a little bit scary for some people who might not know what's going on. But,
All right, so you sound confident.
Yeah, so I work in sports medicine rehabilitation. I work with athletes really of all ages. I can't say that I work with professional athletes like a Joel Embiid, but I do have some experience in the area, and I figured I'd maybe.
No, please.
I would
love your input on this.
So working in the field that I do, it's not uncommon to see a meniscus repair along with maybe some other pieces of surgery. Now, depending on the recovery is maybe going to be more dependent on the extent of the tear, this flap tear, and where it is in the knee, and if there's any other procedures that they need to do, maybe take out a piece depending on where it is, or repair it. Now, again, and working in professional sports, they have all the bells and whistles that I might not necessarily have working with the general public. So,
Right.
You saw with Aaron Rodgers with his Achilles repair, he's able to come back, sooner because he has more things at his availability. And Joel will have probably the same, if not more, because of his pedigree. So,
And it's his job and their job to get him back onto the court.
Exactly. I mean, you're talking daily treatment. You can control every factor from nutrition to hydration,
Right.
to exercise, to activity, and everything like that. So, getting the top extent of care, the 1 month get back into sport, I think, is a little bit more aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
Working again in the field that I do, but again, they might have a little bit more there available at their hands than I do. So, I mean, you kind of saw it with Slay a little bit for the Eagles, with his knee procedure, arthroscopic surgery. Exactly what happened, I don't know, but you kind of saw how he was after about a month and wasn't moving as well as he probably should have. So, again, if you're talking a little bit more of an extensive procedure like a repair, well, that might mean to say it might be a little bit longer of a recovery than a month, at least coming from my perspective. Again, I don't work.
Look, if it's 2 months, he's still back come playoff time.
I would say probably come playoff time, he could be more available. But again, I don't know the extent of the damage that was in there.
Right, and that's the information. The next shoe to drop. And thanks for your input, Ryan. I really appreciate the call, man. Thank you so much. That's the next shoe to drop, right? Based off of what Sham said, based off of what Woj reported. We'll now get another evaluation after the procedure's done. And Sham said it in that clip that we play. We'll play it again for you coming up in the beginning of the 11 o'clock hour, that it looks like they're going to try to get this done right away in hopes that he can get back sooner, which is what they should do. So I imagine by the end of this week, maybe we get some more information. Doctors are a lot smarter than I am. Believe it or not, Ray. I'm not as smart as some doctors.
I believe it.
Yeah, me too. All right, we have a couple open lines. Climb in at 610-632-0975. All the Sixer topics on the table. The diehards out there, what is the trade or lack of trade that you want them to do? For those of you on the fringe, are you in or are you out now with the Sixers, now that Embiid's out? And for those of you who wanted to trade Joel Embiid, don't like Joel Embiid, whatever your thoughts on our Joel Embiid, as long as it's him not on the team, are you now more invested and interested in watching the Sixers because your point can be either proven correctly or what I believe will be proven wrong, that they can't win without him? We'd love to hear from you. 610-632-0975. By the way, there was an anniversary yesterday. I'm going to bring something up. Kind of tells you exactly the state of my mentality right now. Teaser, it's not great. I'm Andrew South Tunis, the Midday Show right here, 97.5.
Arlington, Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios, powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. Andrew Salchunas, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
It's 10:53 on the Midday Show. I'm Andrew Salchunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Keith Pompey, The Inquirer, Inquirer.com, will join us coming up at 11:30 to talk more about the injury status of Joel Embiid. We now know he's going to get a procedure. We'll find out at some point this week, just how long it's going to be for him to return. I'm hoping Keith can get us some more information about when the procedure is going to happen, timetables, all that kind of stuff. And then we'll talk to him about the trade deadline, which is this Thursday, and what the Sixers should do with the knowledge, the information that they're going to get about Joel Embiid's return. And I want to hear from you, those of you who are not talking about wishing Joel Embiid wasn't here, because I want to hear from you. But those of you who know Joel Embiid's here, you want this team to still win. What's the move you want the Sixers to make? Do you want them to still be active, or do you want them to just kind of let the season play out the way that it is and let Tyrese Maxey grow with the role players that they already have? Or do you want them to give up some picks and get a guy like a Bojan Bogdanovic who, if Embiid comes back, you could do some things with Tyrese Maxey? Talk to Keith at 11:30, 610-632-0975. Get back to the phones in a second. But Anthony Dean Photography, I always appreciate him checking in. He sends in a tweet. You can't say that the Sixers without Embiid with an injury is the same as the Sixers trading Embiid. Both are without him, but one of them you'll get something in return. The question isn't a fair one. You're right. What my point is, for those of you who wish Joel Embiid were traded, okay, you're not going to get some big haul. So, to his point, I was saying, for those of you who wish he wasn't on the team, now's your chance to see what they look like without him. So, and if they did trade Joel Embiid, all right, you would have had another wing player, maybe coming off the bench, right? Paul Reed would probably be your starting center, and maybe they'd have another backup other than Mo Bamba, right? Like, they'd probably be a more veteran big. I don't know. Or if they trade Joel Embiid, they'd be entering a tank, and they would still have Maxey, but they wouldn't have signed Kelly Oubre. Like, a lot of guys wouldn't be here. So all I'm trying to make the point is, if you did trade Joel Embiid, I don't know how much better this current team would be. This current team may actually be better with Joel Embiid hurt, because they would have gone to a different direction had they traded Joel Embiid. Now, you might be saying, well, no, but the return would have been good. The return would have been good. So I did some research, Ray. Thanks to ESPN.com. ESPN.com put out a story July 22nd of 2022. It was Tim Bontemps with Kevin Pelton, who's like a big NBA and stats guy at ESPN, and some guy named Matt Williams, who, with all due respect, I don't know who Matt Williams is, but he's a part of the stats and information stuff. They ranked the 15 biggest trades that involved star players since 20 or so. It would have been 2002. Let's go through that. Coming in at number 15 was one the Sixers were involved in. They traded Allen Iverson to the Denver Nuggets. You got Andre Miller. I love Andre Miller. I have his jersey. I was a big Andre Miller fan. Andre Miller played for 85 teams. Joe Smith, you could have just said that and I would have believed you, because that's Joe Smith, right? It's either John Smith or Joe Smith. And 2007 first round pick. All right, so the picks is a big part of it. So now you're rebuilding. Kawhi Leonard, the Raptors, back in 2018. Oh, man, San Antonio. They're going to get a big haul. They got DeMar DeRozan. Nice player. How'd it work? Where's he at now? But don't worry. San Antonio still has Jakob Poeltl, who was a part of that trade. They also had a top 20 protected 2019 first-round pick. I don't know what that ended up being. But I think the Spurs still under 10 wins this year, even with Wemby. Chris Paul to the Clippers. back in 2011. The Pelicans, oh, what a haul. Al-Farouq Aminu, Chris Kaman. God could hit a three every once in a while. Yeah, he was the Western Conference Spencer Hawes. Eric Gordon, and a 2012 first-round pick from Minnesota. T-Mac to Houston. Here's what the Magic got. Steve Francis, fun basketball player to watch. Still trying to remember if Orlando was ever relevant other than Dwight Howard. Did get to the finals. Steve Francis on that finals team with Hito Turkoglu. Come on, man. Jameer Nelson. They also got Coutinho Mobley and Kelvin Cato. Big household name there. All right, here we go. The Magic, speaking of Dwight Howard, traded Dwight Howard to the Lakers. Was he on the team, Steve Francis, on that Magic?
No.
Oh, no, so he wasn't even – okay. By the way, well, I haven't even reached the top 10. The Magic traded Dwight Howard to the Lakers in 2012. The Lakers also got Earl Clark and Chris Duhon. This was a 4-team deal, right? In which the Sixers landed Andrew Bynum and the Nuggets received Andre Iguodala. Orlando, as a part of this big deal, got Aaron Aflalo, Al Harrington, Christian Ayanga, Josh McRoberts, Mo Harkless, Nikola Vucevic, and a bunch of picks. Has Orlando been relevant since Dwight Howard? No. 2007, KG goes to the Celtics. Notice the Celtics won a championship. The Lakers didn't win with Dwight, I don't think. That was Pau Gasol. You know, these were last-ditch efforts. Toronto won a championship with Kawhi, you know. KG to the Celtics, in which the T-Wolves got Ryan Gomes. I thought he played baseball. Wasn't there a Ryan Gomes in the MLB?
Thinking of Jan Gomes.
Jan Gomes. Okay, sorry. Thank you. Gerald Green. Al Jefferson. You know, nice little player. Theo Ratliff. I think he was 85 at that time. And Sebastian Telfair. 2 weeks in a row, Sebastian Telfair was brought up on this show.
Wow.
Yeah.
Big for Sebastian Telfair.
There's 9 more that I'll get to as the show continues. But I hope you're getting my point. Let's go to Heavy in Huntington Valley. What's up, Hev?
Yo, bro.
What's up, man?
I'm not on the trade Joel bandwagon just yet because realistically, you're never going to get back the value you would expect for him.
Right. Look, people could say they want to trade Joel Embiid. I just won't agree with you, and I won't agree with the fact that, we're going to get this big haul if you trade him. I don't know. I don't see many big hauls.
Yeah, it's never going to happen. But at this point, with these reports coming out, it just doesn't seem like the Sixers are even too confident that he's going to make it back for the playoffs at this point. And even if he does, I just don't see how this team can go these next 34 games without him and stay in the 5 spot. I mean, you're probably looking at the Sixers at best maybe being a 7 seed.
Yeah, now you got to play in the play-in.
Now you got to, and then you got to play either the Bucks or Boston. And both of those.
Either way, the situation sucks, right? Like either way, it sucks because if he doesn't come back, your season's over. If he does come back, you have a huge hill that you have to climb. Now, if they are the 7th, I talked about this with somebody last week. If they're the 7th seed, right, and they play the Bucks in the first round, all right, they were probably going to play the Bucks in the second round, or the Celtics in the second round. So to me, it doesn't really matter. It's whether or not you can beat those teams, Milwaukee and Boston. And with Joel Embiid and a roster that I think that they can add to come deadline time, I still think they can win those series.
I just think it's going to be tough.
Oh, of course it will be.
For the Sixers to be aggressive at this point because, I mean, it's one thing if you're giving up draft picks, but if you're going to have to, give up Tobias or a few guys on your bench, it's going to be tough because to thin this team out any more than it already is, you're really, really pushing the risk reward there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I know. And it look, it sucks right now. Thanks for the call, Hev. Like, we played the Kendrick Perkins clip last week about shutting him down all season, including the playoffs. This is before the information came out. He just said that to say it without any knowledge whatsoever on the situation at hand. I wonder if people will now start agreeing with that sentiment. Let's say it is a 2-month injury, but his first game back won't be until game 2 of the first round series. All right? Let's use the Miami series, for example. Remember, Sixers were down 2-0 against the Heat. He came back and they won 2 games. It was tied 2-2. Then he got hit in the face by Dwayne Dedman when he already had a broken orbital bone, fractured orbital bone, and he wasn't the same the rest of the series. Now, you still had James Harden that we were all excited for. That's a similar situation now when you're down 2-0 to the Bucks or the Celtics. Then you're going to have to start thinking about whether or not you should bring him back.
One would argue, if you're down 2-0 against the Bucks, you're actually in great standing.
This is Doc Rivers. It's a good point, Ray.
So maybe
you're honest.
Maybe Galaxy Brain here. You shut him down until you're down to the brink against the Bucks.
Yeah, you're on.
And then you show Doc Rivers what it's like to.
You got to steal one.
Yeah, you do have to steal one.
It's got to be 3. It's got to be 3-1.
Yeah. It's got to be 3-1. But in all seriousness, every way you lay this out is just a disaster in my brain. And you're hoping. Again, when they say 1 to 2 months, I'm hoping that 7 weeks, 6-7 weeks from now is when he's starting to ramp back up conditioning wise because he has to get back in game shape. He has to get himself ready to go again. He has to be able to play on that knee. And it's all those frustrating things. And again, now we await whatever timeline they're going to come out with after post-surgery. And I do think that if he's able to get back, it's malpractice not to try and maximize one of his years of the prime.
Right, I agree.
But when you talk about things that I will respect the other opinion of, I will listen to the other side of, I can't, again, the Embiid going thing, I get angry at. The people today that are sitting there okay, well, Oubre was a 1-year deal. All right, how many expiring deals do we have on this team? And how can we...
They have 3 guys under contract.
Right, exactly.
They have Joel Embiid, Paul Reed, and Jaden Springer. Now, Maxi's going to be, right? But lock that one in.
To that point, I understand those of you today that wake up with the thought of, all right, fire up the trade machine. How can I get this expiring contract for an asset and try and turn this thing around? I'm not doing it, but I understand the mindset of some of you today. Because for me, again, listen, I understand.
You've grown up since Friday.
Well, no, Friday, the Embiid thing, the people that don't want Embiid here, I don't understand you. I won't, and I refuse to. Those of you who are saying, oh, look at these expiring players, do I think that they're going to be able to turn this back up by the end of the year? I don't think that way.
I don't think
but
so.
I also see the mentality of those people today because, there is that scared little voice in the back of my head of oh, you've seen this movie, man. He's not coming back in time to make it matter for you. I can hear that voice in my head.
Oh, yeah, because we've lived it. Now, Ray, I'm about to go to the phones here. Part of me doesn't even want to take his call based off of what he just tweeted at me 4 minutes ago.
So I'm going to be upset again.
I'm going to go to my man, the Guru. Dude, are you serious?
Sure, that's.
Dude, you can't be serious, right?
Yeah, it was a joke, but come on now, dude. That one-man blitz, he threw it off the back of his foot. That was exactly what we saw on that safety. But that's not. I was calling.
No. I need to let the audience know, because you and I know what we're talking about. The Guru, Ray, and everybody listening, just sent me a highlight of Jalen Hurts throwing a touchdown pass to CeeDee Lamb in the flag football game yesterday.
Keep an eye on the form.
And said, and I quote, after call, notice how Jalen almost let the one-man blitz get to him here and throw off a back foot. This may be an issue. Oh, man, please don't tell me you're taking any.
I was being facetious.
I hope so.
But
I hope so.
The form was a little scary. It was a little replicating of that safety that he took for no reason.
I don't care if he threw left-handed. It's the Pro Bowl flag football game, man.
Right.
That's the. Can I tell you something? Can I tell you something? Hand to God, I'm not lying. What you just sent me is the first thing I saw from that.
What?
From the Pro Bowl. I didn't watch a second of it.
It literally just popped up as I was waiting for you to get on the phone.
All right. What do you got on the
I was
Sixers?
just all right. So the Embiid thing, first off, right? 2 years ago, I was a trade Embiid guy. Now it's too late. You're right. We're not going to get anything for him. It's Daryl Morey's responsibility was to see the future, to be a good GM when we can see this, right? If my stupid face can sit there and say, hey, Embiid's injury prone right now, if you look into the future, the pieces do not fit to a winning puzzle, right? That's exactly what I said 2 years ago to you and Anthony. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. I know you've been on this side the entire time.
And to me, it was very clear. It's not about Embiid. If Embiid gets traded to another team, he very well could win a championship with that puzzle, right? But with him as a centerpiece and not being able to add to it, at one point, Shane Gilchrist-Alexander was brought up for an Embiid trade plus multiple first-round draft picks during that time. Mm-hmm. You're telling me right now you wouldn't rather have SGA and Maxey in your backcourt with potentially a Chet Holmgren? Now, I don't know if that pick lined up because I know Holmgren was out of season. I don't know if Holmgren was one of those picks. But you're telling me we wouldn't be in a better situation with those?
But here's my thing, dude. Like you say, the puzzle. Like, why can't you try to figure out the puzzle? Maybe you just got the wrong piece in the wrong box.
We saw with Jimmy Butler. Granted, you could bring up the coaching at the time.
It's not just the coaching, dude. They almost won. If Kawhi doesn't hit the quadruple doink,
then why did Jimmy not want to come back? Jimmy's a very intelligent basketball
player.
He
did not like Brett Brown. It's been pretty documented at this point, man. I appreciate the call. I got to go. I'm sorry. I could talk to him all day and never get anywhere with it because we're never going to see eye to eye, which is fine. It's the beauty of sports talk and opinions. So I'm sorry that, we're up near a commercial break. Jimmy Butler didn't leave because he saw that Joel Embiid wasn't going to win something. It's been documented why he left by multiple accounts. He himself, I'm pretty sure, said it on JJ's podcast. Well, whatever. Like, this is where you just jump to a conclusion. Like how last week you jumped to the conclusion that A.J. Brown was going to get traded because of how he looked in the interview with Kay Adams. I know you're saying it's facetious, but you just sent me a highlight of Jalen Hurts throwing off of his back foot in a flag football game and reading blitz. Like, I love you, man, but like, there's how do you know what Jimmy Butler's thinking?
Joel Embiid might be a championship player,
just not here. Yeah, like you're admitting that he could be a championship player. He just might be, how come we can't figure out the puzzle? Like, why, why is oh boy. All right, Keith Pompey will join us at 11:30. I'm looking forward to that conversation. We'll get to more of your phone calls before that. You can climb in at 610-632-0975. And also, oh my God, my brain hurts. Also, the anniversary. As you know, yesterday was the anniversary of the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. 6 years. Today, some say today's the bigger anniversary. Today's the 6-year anniversary of some knucklehead letting me host a show for the first time. Some are saying that today's anniversary is actually bigger.
Yeah.
Than the Eagles winning the Super Bowl is the fact that, have the Eagles won a Super Bowl since? No. Have I hosted shows since? Yes. Some are saying this is actually a bigger anniversary.
So when Doug Peterson said the new normal, he actually just meant you hosting shows.
Absolutely.
Got it.
That's what he was talking about the entire time.
You and Dougie P, you guys were tight. It makes sense. A couple of football guys. He was looking out for you. You had no idea.
They cut out the part where Jason Kelce did the whole speech. They cut out the part when he talked about me.
That's right.
Because we're not the rights holders of the Eagles. So they cut that part out. No, we're not. So the Super Bowl anniversary is yesterday. All jokes aside. I'm so down right now that highlights didn't help me. I'll talk about it next. Would love to hear where you're at with this. Right here on a festive day at 97.5 The Fanatic. Happy Super Bowl from FanDuel in partnership with the Valley Forge, America's #1 sports book. Super Bowl Sunday, we know what it's about. The best seat on the couch, your favorite snacks, some nice cold beers, and placing some super bets. Can't wait to have some fun with my FanDuel Sportsbook app. I was telling you last week, I might have Christy sit down and load something in. Let her do an SGP. Watch, she's probably got a better chance of winning than I do. FanDuel has so many ways for you to end the season with a W or 2 or 3. Bet on who will win Super Bowl 58. Plus, FanDuel has so many other bets to choose from. Which players score a touchdown, how many points will be scored, and much more. At the end of this week, right now, I will give you some of our favorite prop bets that are available on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Obviously, there's the fun ones of Gatorade colors and all that kind of stuff, but we'll talk about the game itself. I've been telling you since last week, I like the over in receptions for Travis Kelce, just because that's Patrick Mahomes' really only weapon. Join today and get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. That's for new customers. Visit FanDuel.com/Fanatic to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/Fanatic and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. You got to be 21 plus and present in PA. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Another Embiid injury update. I'm Ray Dunn. This update
11:21, 97.5 The Fanatic. Commander Sal Tunis, midday show. Keith Pompey of the Inquirer will be joining us coming up at 11:30. So about 9 minutes from now to talk about the latest with Joel Embiid. I'm going to give you some more of these trades that involve big-name players that never work out for the little team, right? Team that trades away the star player, hoping to get this big haul, right? Trade Joe, get the big pieces, build around Maxey. Doesn't really work out. Now, before I get back to the phones, yesterday was the anniversary of the Super Bowl. And, dude, this Eagles collapse was so bad for me that I honestly did not really enjoy seeing all the tweets yesterday. I really didn't. I'm being as honest as possible. And maybe, there's a way for you to help me out or something. It's the best day of a lot of our lives, right? And I'll be honest, there was one clip that I saw that really made me smile yesterday. And then it led to sadness at the same time. It was Brandon Graham's reaction to when the ball hit the turf. And he's doing his sack celebration. And, that put a smile on my face, right? Because he's still here. For now. But then I was like, oh, yeah, for now. He could retire. And if he retires, Jason Kelce could retire, Fletcher Cox could retire. 3 of the 4 guys that were still here that were on that team, their last 2 months of their Eagles careers was a 1-7 spiral. And counting the playoff game, right? 1-7, 1-6, whatever. I don't really care anymore. Watching the Super Bowl highlights yesterday didn't really bring me happiness, Ray. And that freaking sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe part of it might have been because it's like the 6-year anniversary is 5-year. 6 is kind of a weird one.
Yeah, and I think so much of last year, the anniversary was oh, this is cool. Super Bowl's coming up.
Right. Whereas this one is, they're not playing anymore, and the season ended in a fiery crash. And
right. I think
I'm not, I'm not excited right now for week 1.
My algorithm doing the 6-year anniversary posts interspliced with this is what they're doing at the Pro Bowl right now. I think really, really set in motion the way I felt about it, where it was oh, look, Jalen's having so much fun at the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah. People were talking about how he was smiling, and it's that's.
Yeah, if you paid me $80K to show up to Orlando
cool.
for a weekend, I would smile too.
And hang out with a bunch of other football players.
Yeah.
And they're all friends. There's a couple beefs here and there.
I would be smiling as well.
Yeah.
So yes, that's why he's happy. So good for him. I'm glad he's happy. But I think the connection of Super Bowl highlights and Pro Bowl clips that were on my timeline, that kind of put me in a little meh mood. And I think
so you weren't happy by it.
No, and last year
obviously you celebrated. Look, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I watched some of the highlights yesterday, and I was like, man, that was an awesome day. I'll bring you back 6 years ago. Christy was working that day, and she came back from work at halftime. Right. And, I still remember she started talking about something work related. And I was just like, whoa, we can't have this conversation. Right. I'll talk to you next week. And we watched the second half together, and awesome moment, right? I didn't want to go anywhere because I was worried about my first ever hosting shift. Right. So I didn't want to go out, drink beers. It was the easiest shift of my life. I had to turn on the microphone and said the Eagles won the Super Bowl. And the phone line,
Yeah, I did the show day of the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, yeah, just tell me how happy you are.
Yeah, you put all this thought into oh, my God, it's my first shift. I don't want to mess up. People don't remember that I was on. No, nobody cared. They just wanted to celebrate the victory. But I remember when they won, I still remember Chrissy saying, oh, my God, you're shaking because, we were celebrating. My body was literally shaking, right? So don't get me wrong. Seeing those highlights yesterday put a little smile on my face. But ultimately, when I closed the app, right, the old Twitter.com, I was more down the dumps. And I want to know from the people on top of our Sixers conversation at 610-632-0975. Seeing those highlights yesterday, because I know you all did. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, MySpace, whatever they still got, TikTok.
MySpace was blowing up yesterday with the Eagles memories.
Big day.
Yeah. We were all celebrating together.
Everyone who watched the highlight yesterday, if you are a Philadelphian, you don't even have to be a sports fan. It popped up on one of your timelines yesterday, right? How did it make you feel seeing the highlights yesterday? Seeing any of the moments? Because it didn't really necessarily bring me back to a place of happiness. It just reminded me of how disappointed I was in this season. And that sucks. Let's go back to the phone. Let's go to Ed in Coatesville. Ed, you're on the Fanatic.
Andrew, what's going on, my friend?
What up, Eddie?
All right. So, first of all, I'm a 4-for-4 guy, all day, all night, twice on Sundays. That's the way it goes. Now, I have to address a couple points first before I get to my point. The Guru, really, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and Chet Holmgren get you closer to a championship than Joel Embiid. Okay, enough said there. Second, anybody that is not an Embiid guy, who are you picking over him in that draft? Aaron Gordon? Zach LaVine? I mean, come on.
No, I don't think it's that. It's like everyone was excited for Embiid. I think it's now that it's still not amounted to anything. People are ready to move on, not for other players from that draft. They just want to start. People want to start over again. Like there are people that wanted to do another process.
Fair enough. But this dude is a generational player, and I get the injuries. It sucks, man. It kills me all the time. But you know what? There's a chance that this dude could come back this year. Then you need to go all in again and make a couple moves. Now, I have a little bit of a caveat, I guess. I mean, getting a guy like Bogdanovich or somebody like that, is he only a one-year fix? Would we have him next year?
Yeah, you would have him next year. His contract, there's a team option for next year.
All right, so I'm on board with that to make sure that, okay, if he doesn't come back, at least we have him the next year.
Right.
Is so good. People, I don't understand that people don't understand how good this guy is, man. His talents are just through the roof. I'd hate to lose another year, and I understand the injuries, but let's make a couple moves and let's set ourselves up that if this dude comes back, I don't care what seed we are, 7, 8 play-in game. If Embiid's healthy, we could beat any team in the East.
Yeah, absolutely. And then what you'll get back in return is, he's never healthy. And it's like, I hear you.
I hear you, but what are you going to get back? A couple. Andrew just went through 6 of the trades, and he didn't even get into the top 8 trades.
No, I'm not even
back for Charles Barkley. I mean, come on, man, you're not going to get nothing close that you would if he is even 75%. So I'm all in on Joel. I'm all in on the Sixers. Let's go, man. Let's go.
Absolutely. I hear you, Ed. I appreciate the call, man. You can climb in at 610-632-0975. Reacting to the latest with Joel Embiid, that he's going to get this surgery done. Shams Charania is saying it's a torn meniscus. It's a 1 to 2 month deal, right? That's what we know. They're going to reevaluate after the procedure's done, which I don't know exactly when that's going to be, which is why I turned to the people that cover the team and know more of the ins and outs than we do. So let's head to the Comcast Business Hotline from the Inquirer, Inquirer.com, the great Keith Pompey. Keith, what's up, man? Happy New Year. I know it's February 5th, so it's kind of outdated, but I haven't talked to you yet. So how you doing?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
I could be better if Embiid, wasn't hurt again and, making me sad. So I got to ask you, the latest that you're hearing with the big man, any updates that you can give us on Embiid?
I mean, I guess the biggest thing that you have to figure out is, when they go in there and they operate on them, they got to find out. I mean, that's when they're really going to find out how long it's going to be. A lot of people are coming out, it's going to be this, it's going to be that long. But they're actually not going to find out until they get into the knee and see which way is the best way to fix it. Like if they do what, Sham says, they just like go in there and they cut it out, snip it out, so to speak, for lack of a better word. He could be back next month. If not, if they want to do a full repair, with the recovery from the things that I'm hearing, that it could take a little bit longer. It could be, normally they say that's an injury where a guy could be out 4 months. So it's basically dependent on, how long or what they see when they get in there and work on his knee.
So basically what you're hearing is just, we got to wait and see. Like, is there a vibe that you're getting? Are people just kind of walking on eggshells?
They're not. It is what it is at this particular point, the guy is, he could have, some people are like, well, I talked to a doctor that said, this is the smartest thing that he's done. Like, in other people, it's kind of like, you can try to play on it, but it's not going to get any better. Like, It's just going to get worse. And it, basically having the surgery now and doing what he's doing is impacting him, better for long term. The repair might be the best thing to do, but if you have the repair, you could possibly be out for the rest of the season. You know what I mean? So, it's just a lot of things that's going on. And I feel like, it's one of those things where, I think that everyone who saw Joel Embiid play the Indiana game and then saw him play in the Golden State game, if you're real about basketball and you saw what you saw, that he can't continue to play that way. So he has to get some type of operation or surgery or procedure done to it.
Now, do you have any idea of the timetable of the procedure itself? I imagine sooner rather than later.
I think it's sooner rather than later. Yeah. Like when they said, this week, I expect it to be within the coming days, maybe even today,
right?
But I expect it to be within the coming days. I think a lot of that, has to do with the swelling, has to do with a lot of other things. You got to get that ready. But for a guy like Joel, him having surgery is completely different than you and I having surgery.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the doctor's like, hey, look, Keith, I'm sorry, bruh, but I got to get you next week. I got to get Joel Embiid on the table. You know what I mean? So I think that. And
they're also not going to try to get you back on the court at the Y as soon as possible, right? It's an NBA All-Star.
I'm getting cut from the church league, so I won't even be at the Y.
That's awesome. Speaking of Keith Pompey on the Comcast Business Hotline. So, Keith, best case scenario is it's this 1 to 2 month situation and Embiid's going to be available come playoff time. But you also know there's still going to be some growing pains once he comes back. He's going to have to get back into game shape and whatnot. The worst case scenario is done for the season. So I'll ask you, what might be the Sixers' plan of attack? You got the trade deadline just a couple of days away, and there's this big cloud of whether or not Joel Embiid's going to be able to play.
Yeah, it's funny because, I saw last week where, people were saying it's not going to impact whatever Joel does. It's not going to impact how they're going to approach the trade deadline. Right now, I feel like it has to. It's like you ask yourself with this team right now, this team is 4-10 without Joel Embiid, right? Last year they were better because they had a guy like James Harden who is known to be a lead guy who can take command. But right about now, you're looking at it and, you think that, okay, well, we got to get somebody in here. But at the same time, do you have the assets to be able to get somebody? And how much is that person going to help you with like the last 2 months of the season, right? Are you just going to reinvent everything? I don't know. I don't know if the Sixers should go out there and, waste assets and do all this stuff on a guy who probably won't get them there. The thing is, the Sixers are no longer in third place. They're not in second place. They're not right behind the Boston Celtics. Right now, they're seed in the East without Joel Embiid. So I don't know how much that I'm trying to upgrade this roster to make it to the second round. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of things that they gotta think about and consider right now because a lot, in my opinion, has changed. Now, what they do need is they do need to go and probably get some help at the center position. But it's like, who are the guys out there? Like Andre Drummond, I like him.
Right.
But at the same time, if I'm the Chicago Bulls and I'm saying, oh, so you guys really need Drummond, huh?
Pay up.
We make you pay up. So there's a lot that the Sixers have to think about before making a decision.
So I'm trying to think if they do end up trying to be slightly active on the trade market, would it make more sense to go after guys who you would still have control of for 2 or 3 years? But then obviously you'd have to figure out whether or not that organization that they're with wants to move on from. Like, I guess you wouldn't be making trades for rental players at this point.
No, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't make a trade for rental players because you got a bunch of rental players right now, right? I mean, you got a lot of guys who are coming off contracts expiring. So, yeah, I mean, you can go out there and get a guy, but, I mean, my whole thing is, like, for what, though? Like, what's your purpose? I mean, like, if you could go out there and get, like, an A-list type of player, right? I mean, if you can do that, yeah, it's going to help you. But, I mean, if you're going to get a fringe player or get a fourth option or a fifth option, somebody like that, like, I mean, is that really going to help you right now? You know what I mean? Like, but with you making a case, it does make sense that go out and get somebody that you think maybe you can get in free agency, but you can get them now and then have that person feel like this is a great fit for me and this is a place I want to stay, you know. But, you know, it's weird. Like the guys that I felt like they had a chance or that guys I felt like who would have helped them was, you know, Pascal Siakam, like OG. Those were guys who I felt like could help the Sixers. There's a lot of other players right there that I feel like, yeah, they can score points. But right now, we got to realize, man, like Tyrese Maxey, all-star. Tyrese Maxey is ascending to be the man. He's about to get a max contract. Like, I mean, when we play fantasy basketball and we're just bringing guys in here to bring them in here, you got to realize, like, how are they going to fit in? Like, are they going to be a guy like you give Tobias Harris a lot of money? And then you ask him to be a third or a fourth option, and then you criticize him because he's not the man, but at the same time, he's getting paid as a superstar, but he's not asked to be the superstar. So it's one of those things you don't want to keep going into these cycles, going out there getting these quote-unquote all-star caliber players when you know that person is only going to be the third or fourth option on the team. So, I think that we got to give Maxey time to show what he could do.
Keith, I want to start this question off by making it clear that I do not want to trade Joel Embiid this offseason. But let me ask you, obviously a lot was made of the comments that he made before this season started of, you know, what's next for Joel Embiid? Well, winning a championship, whether it's with the Sixers or somewhere else. There's been all this talk about Embiid's going to force his way out. Embiid's going to force his way out. Is there ever a chance, after another injury like this, where the Sixers themselves say, all right, enough's enough. I think it's time for us to move on from the big man?
No, that's a great question. I mean, they could do that, but I don't know if you can get anything. Like, you're not going to get anything at equal value for him, right? You're just not. Like, there's not a lot out there. You know, unfortunately, nowadays, you know, it's not saying that, okay, you're going to say, okay, I'm going to trade Joel Embiid to the Milwaukee Bucks and get Giannis Antetokounmpo back, or I'm going to trade Joel Embiid to the Denver Nuggets and get the Joker back. Right. Like, to me, those are the type of players who you will say, okay, I'll make that deal for. But those teams aren't going to do it. Right now, you look at a guys like these other stars maybe aren't on their level, or they're getting a little bit older. So they're like declining now. So it's not really like, what are you going to get for him? Now, the thing that we got to realize is that, yes, these injuries are bad. I mean, they're really bad. And I feel sorry for Joel Embiid. But a week ago, we were talking about Joel Embiid was the second coming to Wilt Chamberlain.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, seriously, like 10 days ago, we were comparing him to Wilt. So now that he's struggling, I know everybody wants to get rid of him and, like, what are you going to get? But right now, I don't think that you're going to be able to get stuff. I mean, look at what the Knicks tried to offer. People laughed at it. You know, it was like teams don't have enough. So, you know, it's like, yeah, you can trade Joel, and then you're going to go back in the rebuilding process. You'll get a bunch of draft picks. You'll get some players who won't amount to who he is.
Yep.
But at the same time, you'll hit the reboot. And my question to the fans are y'all ready for another rebuild after having what the process did? You know what I mean? So those are a lot of questions that the Sixers tough questions they have to answer, and it's questions that I guess some people in the fan base who are willing or ready for Joel to leave. I think the best thing is for the 76ers, moving forward is let continue to develop Maxey, right? To whereas Maxey could be sort of like how when Dwayne Wade was when he had Shaquille O'Neal at that team.
Mm-hmm.
It was Dwayne Wade's team, undoubtedly. But then Shaquille O'Neal was able to be a great co-star. And that's not quite there yet with Maxey and Embiid. But I do believe that, Maxey can be the star that everybody's saying, and he's homegrown. He just has to continue to develop and get better.
Absolutely, Keith. Well, you said that are the fans ready to do a rebuild? Is Keith Pompey ready to cover lottery balls again and Furkan Aldemir?
Look, man, it's like this. It's all about the stories. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Stories. And like you brought up my man Furkan. It's funny. Furkan was Mr. Bad Luck. Like he had plantar fasciitis, and I believe in both of his feet. Like it was crazy. Like it was crazy. But nah, that was a crazy time, man. I'm lying.
I'm sure you don't totally miss it, Keith.
Oh, it was rough. It was rough. But it was funny. And like I'm gonna just real quick, I'm gonna share this with you. Like they used to bring dudes there who just used to show up like the day of the game, right?
Yeah.
So there was this one player who shows up for a game, and we were like, "So what's your nickname?" He was like, "They call me Hassel." And we're like, "They call you Hassel? Why they call you Hassel?" Because I'm on D, the way I play D. So anyway, Brett Brown puts him in, and Hassel, let's just say Hassel gave up a dunk, right? So then, Hassel was a point guard. So they he gets the ball, the ensuing possession, and fires up an air ball three. Brett Brown calls timeout, and that was like basically the end.
That was the end of Hassel.
Yeah, but that's just how it was back then. It was just dudes coming off the street talking about they could play and they couldn't.
Yeah, unbelievable. Keith, listen, man, I appreciate you all the time that you spend with us all here on the station. I know you were at the best show ever last week, and you're on with me again today. So thank you, and I'm sure we'll be bugging you as the weeks go on as we find out more information about Joel Embiid. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Bye-bye.
Thanks. There he is, Keith Pompey, the Inquirer, Inquirer.com. All right, so we're going to react to that, all right? He's basically telling you, look, whether Embiid's back or not, it might be best for the Sixers to do nothing. Goes back to what I said earlier in the show. There was a mindset going into the season that it might be best for the Sixers to just punt this season, for lack of a better term. Let Joel Embiid learn how to play in the Nick Nurse system. Let Tyrese Maxey get better right now that James Harden's gone. It might get back to that. And if that's the case, how you feeling? 610-632-0975. And yesterday was the anniversary, 6-year anniversary of the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. I was more sad watching the highlights than happy because of how this season ended. How did you react when you saw everything? Because let's face it, you saw it. You couldn't run from it. It was all over the place. Every single social media channel out there, it was on there. What was your reaction when you saw those highlights? I'm Andrew Salchunas. It's the Midday Show right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
It's 11:52, 11 o'clock hour, brought to us by Golden Nugget Jewelers. That's where Philly gets engaged, and it's a Fanatic Monday. Fanatic Monday, presented by Pierce Phelps Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors. Visit nopaybryant.com for flexible spending options on a new heating and cooling system. Before we get back to the phones, here's what we got in store for you. A lot on the table. I opened the show with 3 Sixers topics for 3 different types of Sixers fans. Now, you might be under the umbrella of a couple, but here's what I got for you. Number 1 was for the Sixers fans that are in every single night. No hatred. You're just watching, right? We found out that Joel Embiid is going to miss a month to 2 at best. If you can, Ray, Shams Charania earlier today gave us a bit of an update. Here's what he had to say on the FanDuel Sportsbook Network about Joel Embiid's injury.
Joel Embiid has a meniscus tear in his left knee. He had multiple evaluations, doctoral consultations. He went through decision-making on whether you rest and rehab this meniscus injury. It's a displaced flap of the meniscus. That's a type of tear. But he decided to undergo surgery very soon. I'm told that the hope is that Embiid misses 1 to 2 months. That's the best case minimum scenario, and that would dictate a potential return late in the season. Only the severity of the tear, the procedure itself will determine exactly how long he's going to be out. If a full repair is needed in Sergio Michel, that's going to be a significantly longer recovery time period than just 1 to 2 months. And this is absolutely brutal for the Sixers because now Joel Embiid will no longer be eligible for MVP, but even beyond that, the way he was performing this year, he was on pace to be an MVP. He was on pace to be the scoring title yet again this season. His season is now in jeopardy. We know all along this year, I've said it, Joel Embiid has only been focused on wanting to win a championship, being healthy for when it matters most, and that's the playoffs. And he's been managing his body. The Sixers have been managing his body for that. And for it to fail on him now, it's obviously a devastating time for him and the Sixers. They will have a chance. If Joel Embiid's able to make it back late this season, they're going to have a chance. They won't know until the doctors go in there, perform that surgery, and see exactly how long Joel Embiid will miss. But at minimum, 1 to 2 months.
So Shams says they still have a chance, right? Like if he's back, like they're a good basketball team, which is why I started letting myself get excited for the first time this year over the last couple of weeks. And then look what happens when I get excited. The season takes a big hit when Joel Embiid's going to be out. But my question for those of you who have been watching every single night, you know what this team is made of. You know what this team is about. You know what this team is like going through Joel Embiid with Tyrese Maxey, the growth that he has taken, still having Tobias Harris on this roster, but the depth that you have gotten with some of the moves from James Harden getting traded to some of the guys that Daryl Morey signed before the season started, like Patrick Beverley, Mo Bamba, Kelly Oubre. Knowing what you know so far with this season, the trade deadline is Thursday. What do you want to do? Do you want the Sixers to still be aggressive, make a couple of trades, or do you want them to just kind of let the season play out the rest of the way and you just move on? Keith Pompey, who we just had on, you'll be able to hear that again on 97.5thefanatic.com. He basically said that that's what he would do. We'd love to hear what you have to think at 610-632-0975. The other topic that we have going on, and hold on real quick. I forgot to tell you about something. That's my bad. Coming up at noon, 4 minutes from now, we have an awesome giveaway. All right? Coming up at noon, your chance to win tickets to the Stadium Series, where the Flyers travel to MetLife to take on the Devils. I've said this before. Watching it on TV doesn't really do much for me. But can you imagine being there? Every person that has ever been to a Stadium Series has told me it's one of the coolest experiences that they have ever had. So the Stadium Series at MetLife, Flyers, Devils, it's February 17th, okay? We're giving away tickets this week throughout the station. So your chance to win coming your way at noon. So that's in 3 minutes. The other Sixers topic, Joel Embiid is now out. We now know this. There are a lot of you out there that don't want Joel Embiid on the Sixers, period, have not wanted Joel Embiid on the Sixers. You have wanted to trade him for all these packages that don't amount to anything, as I'll continue to go through the big trades that have happened in the last 20 years in the NBA and how they literally have not amounted to anything. Joel Embiid's not here now for at least a month, maybe 2. Are you now more intrigued to watch the Sixers? Are you now more invested to watch the Sixers because you want your point proven correctly or incorrectly? Be honest with me. All right, the Stadium Series giveaway in 2 minutes. Let's go to the phone. Let's go to Michael and Yardley. What's up, Mike?
Tunis, what's up, man?
How you doing, brother?
I'm good. So I wanted to give a little insight into this whole meniscus tear thing.
Okay.
I had the same exact injury 2 different times. Now, I want you to put, like the Miami U, how they make it with their hands? Like that's what your meniscus kind of looks like, right?
Okay.
So if you tear the meniscus either laterally or medially, meaning like inside or outside, that's almost like making a break at where your knuckle is as you're making that Miami U. So that's where the flap, they're talking about a flap, could get displaced.
the flap.
Because
Okay.
you got that little split at the knuckle. So think about just like folding your hand. And that fold is that flap that's displaced. Now, if that cut, that little tear, is minimal enough, like skinny enough, all they have to do really is kind of unflap it, and they let it heal. They let it heal on its own because it's skinny enough that maybe, if it's in the medial aspect, there's blood there, it can kind of heal on its own. So really all they do is go in, unflap it, and you kind of up after that, the rehab all depends on the player and the individual. You get the swelling to go down, you get the knee to be stable, you could go back in. After my surgery, after the first time when that tear was minimal, I rehabbed for 2-3 weeks and I was able to play again and make it back to my season.
Right.
If that cut is wide enough that they actually have to go in and use sutures to attach the top and bottom part of that meniscus back together so it doesn't unflap again, now you're looking at an extensive rehab process. Now you need to let that knee heal. You need to let that cartilage heal before you even go back to playing. And now we're talking about he's done for the season.
Right. That's the 2+ month. That's the worst case scenario.
Yeah, that's the worst case scenario. And to be honest, what Keith said, I think, is very insightful. We should be playing this season with the idea that we're probably not going to get Embiid back. Let's see what these guys do. Let's see how this plays out. Now, obviously, we can't win the long run without Joel, but what it does do is 2 things. One, it just gets us in that mindset of what you said earlier. Let's play these guys and show other teams what these guys can do. Because by the end of the season, we might have some pull with where we can, displace some of the guys who.
Well, that's the biggest problem, Coach Mike, and I appreciate the call. They're all free agents after this season. They're all free agents. You have Embiid, Paul Reed, Jaden Springer under contract for next year. So, so some guys are going to be able to market themselves across the league, but it's not really going to lead the trades. All right, I'll get back to the phones in a second, but it's 12 o'clock. Let's try to give away some tickets.
To the Shooting Scores! 97.5 The Fanatic.
All right, this is so freaking cool that we are doing this. I need caller 9 on the contest line. Caller number 9, 215-263-0975. Once again, caller 9 of the contest line, 215-263-0975. And you will win. Not a chance. You will win tickets to see the Flyers take on the Devils Saturday, February 17th at MetLife Stadium as part of the 2024 Navy Federal Credit Union NHL Stadium Series. So cool that they do this. So cool that you have a chance to go. After today, your next chance to win will be at the best show ever at 4 o'clock. You got to listen for this Flyer sounder that you're listening to right now. It's the 9th caller every single time. So I didn't just pick 9 to be a jerk to Josh in the back, right? No, it's going to be caller number 9, 215-263-0975. Visit 975thefanatic.com for complete details and another chance to win. So caller number 9. Good luck. Looking forward to it. We're doing this, and we're doing this, all week long, right? So we're giving away lots of tickets. 15 pairs of tickets.
People always said it's their dream to go to MetLife. It's the center of the world.
At least they're not playing on the turf. They're playing on the ice.
Which also, big thing from everyone reacting to the World Cup thing.
Oh, it's grass.
FIFA needs grass.
It's grass.
So maybe hold out hope that they don't have a bad turf forever.
Yeah, we'll see.
It won't fix the fact that it's Rutherford, New Jersey.
Yeah, no, it's still not New York.
Still not New York. It's still a swamp. I mean, call it what it is. I got family up in North Jersey. I like where they live. Rutherford, not exactly a place I ever dreamed of going.
Right, exactly. All right, so hopefully, caller number 9, good luck. Looking forward to you going to the Flyers and Devils game. That is something I would like to check out. Once again, on TV, it doesn't really do much of a difference to me, but imagine going. Like, that's got to be freaking awesome. All right, let's go to Dell in Germantown. Dell, you're on the Fanatic.
Hey, how are you doing?
What's up, Dell?
I'm all right. Prior to the MB injury, I think we had the assets for, like with Marquise Morris's contract and all that, we had the potential to keep Tobias this year. Even though we wouldn't have the same team next year, we could have had, in theory, 4 max players, including the B, Tobias, Maxey, and whoever we traded. I wanted like an OG or a Piao, Siakam. And I'm thinking we could have made a push this year because there's no way we were able to keep that team together next year. But I think this was the year that the Sixers could have done it. And in terms of Embiid, you don't know what he's going to be like. I think you might just have to build a team around. I don't want to trade Embiid, but I think we need to just kind of make Maxey the league.
So what you said, what Keith Pompey just said, I just had Keith on. He said he could see it turning into a D-Wade Shaq scenario in Miami, where, yeah, Shaq's the big name that gets traded to Miami, but that's Dwayne Wade's team.
Yeah.
The only difference is Joe's been here. He's been top dog. I don't know how easy that is to sell to Joel.
Well, the thing is, I think maybe they need to build their style of play around Maxey. Now, there's no way we can trade Embiid. I mean, like, this is legitimately the guy. He's the best player in the league. I mean, Iverson was arguably the best player, but he's been the best player undisputed since maybe Wilt Chamberlain. That doesn't come around all the time.
Right.
We cannot trade Embiid. Even if his health is an issue, I think you have to keep him as long.
You got to keep trying because these trades don't work. And thanks for the call, Dell. I appreciate it. These trades don't work. I ran through 5. So if you're just tuning in, I found an article from ESPN.com from 2 years ago. Not even 2 years ago. About 18 months ago. About the big trades with the big name player going somewhere and what the team in return got. And so far, not one trade has worked out through what I've given you. Iverson to the Nuggets. Sixers got Andre Miller and Joe Smith. Kawhi goes to Toronto, as well as Danny Green, by the way. San Antonio gets DeMar DeRozan, nice player, but he's not even there anymore, and Jakob Poeltl. The Clippers got Chris Paul. The Pelicans got Al-Farouq Aminu, Chris Kaman, and Eric Gordon. Tracy McGrady to Houston. Orlando got Steve Francis, Coutinho Mobley, and Kelvin Cato. Like, come on. Dwight Howard to the Lakers. That was the 4-team deal that the Sixers got Andrew Bynum. But the Magic, the big haul was Aaron Aflalo, Al Harrington, Christian Iyenga, Josh McRoberts, Mo Harkless, and Nikola Vucevic. Vucevic, the best player out of all that. And, where's he at now? Chicago. Garnett to the Celtics. Minnesota got Ryan Gomes, Gerald Green, Al Jefferson, Theo Ratliff, and Sebastian Telfair. Now, here's one that worked out for the team that traded away their star. But this is a far different scenario because the Lakers still had a player named Kobe Bryant on their team. When they traded Shaq to Miami, this actually worked out for both teams. Miami won a championship with Shaq and D-Wade. The Lakers got Lamar Odom, who was on crack. One of the greatest Stephen A. moments. The Lakers got Lamar Odom. He ended up winning the championship with Kobe. But again, Kobe was on that team.
That's one of those videos that anytime it pops up on the timeline, you watch it.
Yeah.
Watch it all the way through.
The Lakers also got Caron Butler and Brian Grant and some picks. Now, I know picks are a big deal, but again, sometimes these picks are in the 20s. So here's a couple others. This one didn't work out for either team. Forget what you now know. When the Rockets got Russell Westbrook, the Thunder got Chris Paul and a bunch of picks. So, obviously, you know that Russell Westbrook has not turned into anything. And the Thunder got future Hall of Famer Chris Paul. How long was he even with OKC? A year.
Not long, able to flip that.
Yeah.
I mean, what's transpired in Oklahoma City
he was hurt
is
and then went to I don't think he was even playing. He may have played a little bit with Oklahoma City.
What's transpired for them has worked.
Right.
I think you also came to the end of the Westbrook era there. It was kind of time to move.
He played 70 games, by the way, with the Thunder at the age of 34.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. I can't even say that one worked. The only one that worked so far is the Lakers trading Shaq, but the Lakers had Kobe. Kyrie Irving to Boston. The Cavs got Jay Crowder, Isaiah Thomas, who just signed recently, didn't he? Pretty sure did. Hold on. Let's check. Yeah, the Hornets. He's still kicking, man. Isaiah. They also got Ante Zizic and pick. Kevin Love to Cleveland. Sixers were involved in this trade.
When did he sign with the Hornets?
It was like a couple weeks ago. I remember it popped up. Let's see. Oh, maybe not. No, here you go. In May of 2023. Oh, no, I guess not. I thought it popped up. Maybe
I think it was him doing one of those media tours again where he wants to get signed.
Oh, okay.
Because he does a really great job.
Yeah, it was more of a, he's not playing.
No.
But I thought I saw him sign somewhere. Not that he was going to play. All right, so Cleveland got Kevin Love. Do you know the two players that the Sixers received in this 3-team deal?
The Kevin Love deal. Oh, man.
Minnesota, obviously, Cleveland, and the Sixers. This is
Alexei Shved?
Yes!
Alexei Shved and
probably the most important Sixer of all time.
Mike Muscala is, but it's not him.
No, even more. How about that Luke Mbamute, who discovered Joel Embiid?
That's a shame. Friend of the program. Had him on over the summer.
Did you?
It was after Embiid was named MVP last spring. Friend of the program. Sorry. Awesome. I got to apologize to my guy on that one.
Hey, come on, man. Minnesota obviously was the team that was most involved in that trade. They got Anthony Bennett, bust.
Home run.
Andrew Wiggins, not there. And Thad Young.
Hey, Thad Young is one of 6 players in NBA history with this incredibly specific statistic.
Yeah, unbelievable. Here you go. Here's another. This stuff makes me laugh. Trade Embiid. Get a good haul. All right, here's Melo. Melo going to the Knicks from Denver. The Knicks got Melo, Chauncey Billups, Anthony Carter, Sheldon Williams, and Corey Brewer. 6 are great. Denver got Wilson Chandler.
Legend.
Raymond Felton.
Another one.
Danilo Gallinari. Timofey Mozgov. And picks. I wonder if one of those picks became Jokic. I don't know if that's true or not. That was part of a 3-team deal. The T-Wolves got Eddie Curry and Anthony Randolph. Deron Williams, this is a big one. Deron Williams to the New Jersey Nets, now Brooklyn. Utah got Derek Favors. He's all right. Devin Harris. Still remember Devin Harris hitting a game-winning half-court shot against the Sixers. And a couple picks. James Harden to Brooklyn. Here's the big trade, right? Big trade. Oh, my God. How will Brooklyn recover? They got rid of Rodion's Kurucs. They got rid of Dante Exum and picks. They got rid of Karis LeVert to the Pacers. I liked him when he was with the Nets. He hasn't really done much since. Jared Allen, probably the best player that left. And Taurean Prince. These trades don't work. There's 2 left that I'll give you where you will know a lot of the names and go, oh, wow, look, this one could have worked. But I'm guessing at the time, some of these teams didn't know these players. I'll tell you those 2 coming up next. Would love to hear from you. 610-632-0975. I see somebody cooking up a trade. What player that will phase out will the Sixers get if they trade Embiid? I'm Andrew Sal. Tune in to the Midday Show right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Another Embiid injury update. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is
Show here on 97.5 The Fanatic. I'm Andrew Salchunas. 12 o'clock hour brought to us by Service First Heating and Air Conditioning. Get 0% financing for 72 months and a $500 rebate when you purchase a complete heating and cooling system from Service First. Learn more at servicefirsthvac.com. Reacting to the news that Joel Embiid will be missing an extended period of time, 1 to 2 months at minimum, according to Shams Charania in the latest clip that we played at the beginning of the show today. The question is, what's next? And if you are somebody who has been wishing Joel Embiid to not be on the Sixers anymore, right? Trade him. He demands a trade, whatever, right? You want to go back to the high-flying Bellinelli and Ilyasova days, right? I want you to let me know how invested you are now with him out. Because now is your chance to find out whether or not they can win without Joel Embiid. Because everybody keeps on bringing up that 18 straight that they won? Or was it just like a great stretch of 18
I think it was
games?
16 straight to end the 17-18 season.
People point to that all the time. It was a long time ago, man. The guy that was leading the charge there is Ben Simmons. You know, he scored 0 points against the Sixers the other night. 0. Zilch. Nada.
I am who I am. It is what it is.
JJ Redick is now calling games. Bellinelli, I think, is still playing, just not in the United States, not in the NBA. Ilyasova's retired. You know, a long time ago. But I know there's a lot of people that have been wishing for this to happen at some point. Not the injury. You know, at least I would hope, or you're a terrible human being. You know, you were waiting for Joel Embiid to not be on the Sixers anymore. Well, now's your chance to find out what they would look like without Joel Embiid on the court. Now, 2 more trades for you. Thank you. Bellinelli plays for Virtus Bologna.
I was giving you can try to pronounce it. I don't know.
All right. Virtus Bologna. Hope he's doing well.
Yeah, you're a league guy. 37 years old.
The last 2 trades that I will give to you where it did work out for the team that traded away the big name. Well, one of them did. When the Oklahoma City Thunder traded away Paul George, they got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Did they know that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander would become the player that he is today? Probably not. But you also make these trades in hopes that you get something. They also got Danilo Gallinari and then a bunch of picks, which the picks are still working out for them. So this one, you could make the case, has benefited the Thunder. Right? You got a great player in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You got a bunch of picks.
Then
you're still reaping the benefits of those picks.
And the Clippers were also in a place where they were going to give up to get Paul George because the idea was the duo.
Right, exactly.
So, like, if you were the Thunder, you were in the advantageous position of this is
best for us.
Yeah, it didn't become one of those messy, I want to go here, but we're not going to send you here, one of those things.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So that one, I could make the case out of all 14 that I've given you so far, that's the best one. The other one that worked was the Lakers trading Shaq, but they had Kobe still.
I'm also willing to give the Thunder credit on the Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, okay. I'll give you that one. Now, the last one is Anthony Davis, which New Orleans is a fun team, but Lonzo Ball, not there anymore. Josh Hart, not there anymore. You've Brandon Ingram. And then they have picks, and I think they still have 2 more. Oh, they can either take the 2024 pick from the Lakers or 2025, which this one might actually be pretty good. That might end up be a pretty good pick for the Pelicans. But was that really a home run?
Yeah, you make that trade a couple years later. What, 3 games better than the Lakers? It's
right.
Like, yeah, great. Lakers got a ring.
Lakers got a ring out of it, and you are 2 to 3 games better than them in this year. And that 2 to 3 games better is landing you a 7th seed in the Western Conference right now. Basically, what I'm getting at is these big trades of big name players, they don't get the return that you're hoping for. And then the picks, like, yeah, I'm with you. You know, it's exciting when you have a top 10 pick. But it's exciting when you have a top 10 pick when you're a good basketball team and then you're trying to add to it. Because if not, then you're just doing lottery every single year, and you're hoping to start fresh, and you're going through a process just like the Sixers went through. I just don't want to do that again.
I'd argue it's exciting to have a top 10 talent.
Yes. Yeah,
I'd like that.
That'd be nice.
That's more fun for me.
Now, before I get to the phone, because I see a couple of stuff that I want to get to this segment, I do want to read you an email from our buddy, Tom from Alabama.
Oh, remember you dining with Embiid, Knicks sources?
Yeah,
he had a Friday for
right,
us.
right.
Don't you forget.
Now, Tom says this out of love. All right. The title of the email was B and M. Oh, where are we going here?
Oh, are you sure you want to read this one out? Is this more of a private thing? Private message for the two of you?
He emails me, I noticed something about you. It's a constant bitching and moaning, nothing positive. That was at 10:30 this morning. So I replied with, what is there to be happy about in Philly sports right now? And then he responded with, I hear you, blah, blah. I was thinking about this during the break. I bet you if I really wanted to go into deep down depression, Philadelphia sports mode, I can come up with more bad that has happened in Philadelphia sports than good since, let's say, October. We'll start from the day they took a 3-2 series lead. There's been more bad than good. And I mean like good, not like, oh, wow, Paul Reed dribbled between his legs and made a nice pass. Right? Like, I mean, like, Embiid 70, Maxey the other night, 51. There's been more bad. Since October.
So since that point, and mostly because I don't want to go down that deep, dark depression path that you're trying to push me down, which I appreciate. You did appreciate you push me down that one.
I'm not trying to push.
Bills walk-off touchdown, beat the Chiefs.
All right, that's 2. And then what happened?
All right, man, listen, you're asking for good moments. I'm trying to give you good moments.
And I told you, I bet you I can come up with more bad. And I can give you 6 straight weeks after that.
Yeah.
Even the one they won against the Giants.
All right, man, if you want me to walk down that path, Embiid scored 70, and now we're talking about his season potentially being over.
Right, so they cancel out.
Thanks. See, this is what I mean. If you're going to try and get me to be positive, I'll start trying to think the start that the Flyers got off to.
All right. And now
no expectations.
Other stuff is going on.
Yeah, obviously not great.
Like, that's the thing. Like, I'm sorry, Tom. I wish I could do sunshines and rainbows. And I usually do. Friday, I was in a bad place, and then Embiid news didn't make me feel any better coming into this Monday. The week of the trade deadline. This was supposed to be an exciting week. Thursday, so take you behind the curtain. I like to record a promo after shows to preview the next day. Thursday after the show, I said, oh, we're going to get into the deadline talk tomorrow. And then we got the news that Embiid wasn't going to be playing and he was going to be reevaluated. Okay. I was hoping today, come in, talk about the deadline. Excited for whatever good news to get of Embiid. Nope. Yesterday we find out that he's going to miss an extended period of time. What is there to be happy about right now? Seriously. Like, even if I try to be Philadelphia goggles right now. All right. I'm excited to see what Maxey can do. Well, it's his team now, right? Excited to see what Maxey can do. Okay? I'm excited for opening day. Disappointed that they didn't trade for Corbin Burns, and they're running it back. The Flyers are going to start trading people, and now I'm quickly going. I'm not even giving you stuff I'm excited about. Like, I can't even lie to you about some things.
There's a new offensive mind for the Eagles.
Yeah. Let's go. That's something
mock
to be excited
draft
about.
Season.
Yeah, mock draft. No, I'm not excited for that. That's the worst season in the world.
I know you hate mock draft season.
Let's go to Mick in South Philly. What up, Mick?
Hey, how you doing, man?
Hey, how you doing?
All right, man. I was just calling in. Y'all was talking about the Embiid situation.
Yes.
I feel that sometimes it might be a blessing in disguise to give him all the rest he needs, man. Just to hold us down. We just need to get into the playoffs. I think once we get in the playoffs, if we can come back healthy, we going to make that run.
Okay, so I don't disagree with you, but what if we end up hearing that he's out for the season? Like, that's still a chance. We don't, like, I can't go blessing in disguise when he might still be done for the year.
I know what you're saying with that though, but I'm looking at it like, well, this is an every year thing though. So when you get used to it, it's like sometimes you want to look at something differently this time. He got hurt. He got hurt earlier this time than later near the playoffs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but this could be a more serious injury than the other one.
That's why I think they need to make a trade and go get Andre Drummond. Just somebody big that could get rebounds and do that defensive work for us down low.
I like Andre Drummond as a backup. I do, but this team is built to go through Embiid, not through Andre Drummond. So now it's gonna be the Maxey show, which is great. Let's see how Maxey can play when he's now the focal point, right?
Exactly.
Like we're gonna learn a lot about Tyrese Maxey. I don't think he's gonna get exposed or anything, but we're gonna learn a lot about him in the rest of this season, pretty much.
And like you said, a lot of these guys are on contract, so they all gonna be playing harder than what they're supposed to be. They're all gonna be playing harder.
That might look. I'll give you that. They're free agents.
The whole key is if we get some good news, that means he'll have some rest. We need Tobias. That's the key. That's the guy everybody that they ain't even mention is him. He's the key to this whole thing for us.
I said earlier, Tobias, now's the time to be aggressive. If you're not,
Yes, exactly.
I don't know what else to say.
He got to be that assassin.
Yeah, exactly. Now is the time. He's got to back up what his dad said. I appreciate the call, Mick. There is no excuses with this dude. None. Zero excuses for Tobias. If I see a 9-point performance in their next game, 3 of 7 shooting, the injury happening to Joel Embiid could either be the best or worst thing for Tobias Harris. If he plays great, right, the assassin scorer, I don't know if he gets another max, but like he's gonna get paid. He's still young.
Make a solid chunk of change.
Right. If is Tobias the friendly ghost again? When Embiid's out, which I have talked about a lot in the past about how there have been games, and this is when Maxey was younger, when Embiid and Harden, Embiid and Simmons, whatever the pairing was that was out, there was a game where Tobias took like 5 or 6 shots. Max player. So this could be a great thing for Tobias. Could also be terrible for Tobias. He's got to back it up, man.
He's got to back it up. This is the time. I mean, this is, again, you get paid
We
all
find
this
out
money.
about the crumble cookies. No, seriously, this is crumble cookie time.
You're still upset about being called a casual.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's okay.
I'll either be proven right or proven wrong. Assassin score.
So they were talking about this morning on the morning show, and they were talking about the playing to 500 the rest of the way. 34 games left, 17-17 gets you to, I think Bob said it was 47 wins is where you would end up being with that.
Okay.
Do you think that this team without Joel Embiid can go 500 if they don't have him for another regular season game? Do you think they could be 500 the rest of the way and get themselves to 47 wins?
No. They're 4-10 this year without.
Right. But like you're gonna need somebody like when we talk about Tobias Harris, you're gonna need Tobias Harris to be, an option too. You're gonna need someone to take that step forward. Also, talking about Andre Drummond, yeah, that sounds great. But you need someone at some point to fortify that front court now because much as, the Paul Reed experience can be exciting and fun, it's got its highs, it's got its lows. Mo Bamba, there's a reason he was available for you to take him,
Right.
It's a tall task to ask this group, as presently constructed without Joel Embiid, to go 500 the rest of the way. That gets you to 47 wins. Where does that put you in relation to everyone else? The one thing that I don't think I'll be able to settle on, and this is the timing. We talk about the timing of it. Some people could say, oh, it's a blessing. And, talked about this when I was in with the best show ever Friday. Yeah. About the timing of the injury before, it came out fully what it was. Like, if you can get it back in the middle of March, it'd be great.
Great, yeah.
Great. The way it sounds right now, it doesn't sound like the middle of March.
It sounds like middle of April.
Yeah, and then the timing of this becomes more concerning for me in that all the decisions that have to be made pretty much in the next 72 hours. Because now you're looking at a place where the one thing I think that you do yourself a disservice is doing nothing. Doing nothing is doing yourself a disservice. If you get through this, you get surgery today, tomorrow. I know Keith made the joke, and I 100% like. If you're in line ahead of Joel Embiid to get your knee worked on, I'm sorry. Listen, we need priorities here. Embiid needs to be the first one to get that surgery done so we can know what has to happen here, so you know what you're building out for the next, not the next just 2 months, but really the future of this team.
Right.
We talk about all the lack of players under contract. If you do nothing at this deadline, you either are just saying, well, we're going to roll the ball out there and let these guys try and figure it out. And I don't like that strategy with this group right now. And if you get him beat back, then you're doing him a disservice because he's going to come back to the same team, a team that wasn't upgraded to go win something.
Exactly.
And on the flip side of that, if you're not getting him back and you have done nothing, it's a disservice to the future of this team. Like, I think nothing is the one thing at the deadline. And, of course, with the uncertainty, I understand where their mindset might be at with the doing nothing. But to me, I can't justify doing nothing.
Right. And Keith, to his credit, did bring up OG and Pascal Siakam as two guys he wished the Sixers went after and then extended their, like you would make that trade with the
idea of an extension. Pacers didn't give a 3 picks
to have him for a second half of the season with Tyrese Halliburton, right? No, you're going to do that. So I wonder if there's something like that in mind. Now, there's already a built-in excuse for the Super Bowl.
Really?
I'll tell you one in a minute. Let's go to Dustin in the Northeast. What's up, Dustin?
Yo, Chance.
What's up,
going
dude?
on, brother?
All right, what trade? What's going on? What are we cooking up?
Well, dude, first of all, everybody's saying trade Joel Embiid. You are absolute morons, dude. I suffer just like everyone.
Yep.
Yeah, it does suck, but dude, this is what, unfortunately, we think he died for our sins. This is a part of the deal, dude. There was a reason. Not everything is crystal ball perfect. So we know what he's about. You sit him out. You let him get his surgery. I mean, hopefully, when he comes back, he can get back in shape relatively quick. I mean, I don't know. That's the scary part. But this is my trade and Tobias Harris is a big part. Not for him, for what we could get for him. Apparently, the Detroit Pistons are interested in getting Tobias Harris.
Yeah, dude, they've been so weird to me. The Tobias thing popped up like 2 months ago. I saw another report just today. I think it was either today or yesterday. One of the articles about Zach LaVine again, who's hurt.
Well, think about this way, Chimus. Your last caller, Andre Drummond, he should still be a Sixer. I wish we never got rid of him.
Me too.
But
he had to.
Paul Reed and Mamba's trash, dude. He stinks, dude. They're not even in the playoffs when Joe's not on the court. You trust these? No. I love B-ball, Paul, but he is so uncontrollable.
I'm not the biggest fan.
What about this, Ernest? He was with him in Houston with Daryl Morey. Go after Clint Capella. Try and get a three-team deal with the Detroit Pistons. They're the last team in the Eastern Conference. They're going to have a lottery pick. Well, let's try. And if you're going to go after if you're going to do another player that I would look at from Detroit that you want back, I would go after Bogdanovich. Man.
Well, yeah, I've been all Bojan'd up. If you can get me Bogdanovich, and look, Clint Capella, like I know he was not the same as what he was with Harden back in the Rockets, but you can still run the mean pick and roll game with him. He can still grab you 15 boards. Like the guy is still a freak when it comes to that.
And he protects the rim. He's a good defender. Now, Tunis, before I get it, dude, I know we've been back and forth on the whole Joel thing. We talked about earlier in the season about trading him. Dude, you can't, for anybody listening that wants it, you cannot get rid of a player like this. This is, whether you like it or not, you could say he's 70 points or his luck. If you've watched I've watched every one of his games this year, he is the top 3 most dominant players in the league right now.
Yeah.
He is unbelievable. It sucks. I think it comes down to he started playing basketball in 11th grade. He doesn't know how to take a ball. That's been his Achilles heel his entire career, and it's starting to. He falls like a soccer.
Yeah, and that's what happens. I remember somebody pointed out. Thanks for the call, Dustin. Somebody pointed out the injury never happens if he's not on the ground. I mean, but he learned from the soccer thing and his height, and he's kind of told to do so. And
he's also trying to make a play. Like in that instance,
he was on the ground trying to get a ball.
Yeah.
Ball. Yeah.
I know we people question the heart Guy's out there with one knee diving on the floor for loose ball, and someone falls on his leg late in the fourth quarter of a game where everyone was throughout the game saying, I don't know if he should be out there at all. Like, you could question you. I'm not going to say you could. I don't think people should, but people will question his heart, yet he's out there gutting it out because he doesn't feel like he should sit anymore because he's sick and tired of hearing you complain about him.
Right.
And now
exactly.
his knee's all messed up because he dove after a loose ball at 7 foot as a superstar in this league. You know how many superstars in this league we question?
That aren't diving for footballs or basketballs, but also footballs.
Yeah. Cam Newton was the first one that came to mind right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. There's a built-in excuse for the Super Bowl already, Ray.
Oh, good.
I'll tell you what that is next.
Can I guess what team's making it?
Go ahead.
Would it be the 49ers?
It would be.
Of course.
So we already have a built-in excuse for if the 49ers lose the Super Bowl. I will tell you what that is next. I have some other stuff in store for you. I saw something this morning that got me a little juiced for baseball. I have the first edition of the Winter Power Rankings.
Bring back the segment.
ESPN put out their power rankings this weekend heading into the 2024 MLB season. Where are the Phillies? I'll tell you all about that next right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Now, I cannot wait, Ray. Can't wait. It's a big weekend. No, not because of the Super Bowl, but because of Saturday night. You want to win tickets to a Sixers game? Well, join me and our friends from Corona. I know Ray's going to be there. I know a couple of my buddies are going to be there at Maxie's Pizza and Bar on Temple University's campus. Oh, can't wait. This Saturday night from 7 to 9. So when I got the list of places that we were going to do these, I made sure to email Lauren. Lauren Head with this tremendous job. I said, you better make sure that's mine. I know Pat claims Temple. You better make sure that that's mine. So we'll be there Saturday night from 7 to 9 before the Sixers take on the Wizards. I'll probably be there longer than 9. Enjoy $5 Corona bottles. Get hyped up with our crew. Win great prize, including tickets to an upcoming Sixers game. And, of course, we will be eating some of their pizza as well. Oh, this is just amazing. Don't miss out on a great time this Saturday from 7 to 9 with Corona at Maxie's Pizza and Bar. It's 97.5 The Fanatic. Sixers pregame party at Maxie's Pizza and Bar on Temple University's campus. Corona is an official partner of the Philadelphia 76ers. It's the Phyllis of Asa. For details, go to the events page on 975thefanatic.com.
Fanatic And 97.5 thefanatic.com.
It is a Fanatic Monday. Fanatic Mondays presented by Pierce Phelps Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors. Visit nopaybryant.com for flexible spending options on a new heating and cooling system. We'll get back to the phones. Obviously, majority of the talking points have been about Joel Embiid and the Sixers today. And I have a tweet that I want to read to you about moving on from Joel Embiid because, you know, this is a show about every opinion in the world, Ray. So we can have some good discourse.
Oh, I'm excited for the discourse.
Yeah. But we'll get to that in a second. I would love to get some more of your calls on it, especially for those of you who are people who wish Joel Embiid was traded in the past. Now's your chance to see what they look like without him. Are you more intrigued? Would love to hear from you. 610-632-0975. Put your money where your mouth is. Right now's the time. Now is your time.
Honestly, I just expected the victory lap out of people. See?
I'm surprised we haven't got much of that.
Yeah.
Twitter we have. But,
Well,
you
yeah.
know.
Yeah,
Come
no.
on. Let's talk about it. I want to hear what you think this team will look like without Joel Embiid over the next month or two, if not worse. Now, two things that we're going to get to before we get back to the phones. Told you about the power ranking from ESPN, from Major League Baseball. We already got our first power rankings, right? I know that fires you up.
Oh, yeah. You know I love a good power rankings.
What's terrible is when you go to ESPN, MLB is not one of the. It's a drop-down ball.
Yeah, still
Do they
not the season yet.
Do they update that?
Yeah, that'll
Okay.
update. That'll update.
All right, cool. I just want to make sure.
Now baseball's dead.
So we'll get
610.
We'll get to power ranks in a second. But there's a built-in excuse. You know, I have a feeling that there must have been a 49ers fan at one point that made fun of Eagles fans for complaining about the field condition during the Super Bowl. It's just going to be interesting to see when it's happening to them. So there was a report in CBS Sports, that some 49ers staffers were not pleased with the practice field at UNLV where they are practicing leading up to the Super Bowl. At issue, sources say, is the firmness of the natural grass the NFL has laid over UNLV's artificial turf ahead of the 49ers practicing there. A 49ers advanced group that includes members of the equipment staff and grounds team traveled to Las Vegas last week to check out the facilities. They feel the grass is too soft for the team to practice on, and the team has considered alternatives, sources said. 49ers players and coaches have yet to visit the field, having just arrived in Vegas Sunday around 6:30 p.m. local time. They're scheduled for a walkthrough Monday afternoon. So Shefty was on Pat McAfee's show to talk about it. Quote, I can tell you after talking to various people from the 49ers, they don't seem particularly pleased with the practice field. They're going to step on the field today, and we'll see what the players say. He said that they've already contacted the league to try to get them moved. And one idea is to have them practice where the Raiders practice, but now they would have to take turns using the facilities. So they would have to, like, all right, you guys got morning practice, we'll get nighttime practice, which they're not going to want to do that. You don't want to change the entire practice schedule. So the 49ers are already putting out an excuse before the game even happens about the field conditions. Now, I found something interesting. I was listening to the clip during the break because I just read the quote before we went to break, which is why I teased it. Shefty did bring up on his own the Super Bowl last year and how it was an issue. So I'm glad that some people are talking about it still being an issue. Remember, like, people just told us to shut up and stop whining about it. And, like, the Chiefs had the right cleats, but the Eagles didn't. Like,
Sodfather was a Chiefs
fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very weird. But, like, I just feel like a lot of 49ers fans probably mocked us. And now all of a sudden, they already got a built-in excuse. Now, the field itself at the Super Bowl should be all right. It's just the practice facility.
They have not had a player step out on that field yet.
Right. They're already complaining.
And they've already said it's bad. They've already, oh, no, it's bad.
Yeah.
Listen, I got to be honest with you. This year, he was my enemy last year, but the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Oh, so you're rooting for the Sodfather?
I'm rooting for the Sodfather.
I don't think he's working it anymore.
Oh, that was that last year. Was
that
the
was
last Super Bowl.
one, yeah.
But he's pretty big head honcho in that industry.
He's got a coaching tree.
Yeah,
Absolutely. He's got a
He's the sod
tree. Yeah.
father. He's the sod father. You don't get nicknamed with the sod father.
He's the Vic Fangio.
He's got a coach.
Fangio's the godfather. So he's the sod father. He's got a bunch of guys.
I'm sure he could call one in. Yeah. Sure. He planted his seed everywhere.
Yeah, sure he did. He bounced around. All right. So there's the built-in excuse already for the 49ers that their practice facility, the field that they're playing on, is not up to their standards. Oh, it's just fantastic. Can't wait for Deebo Samuel to say something. All right. Your MLB power rankings. Dude, before the season even starts, we got power rankings. All right. Oh, he got me some baseball. Coming in at number 30. Now, I'm not going to run through all 30, but the Oakland A's, as you can imagine, are coming in at number 30. The Nationals, I'll give you the division teams. The Nationals are 27th. No shock that they are toward the bottom of the power rankings. The Angels, by the way, I just want to point out because Trout should demand a trade. They're 25th now that Ohtani's gone. But, he's not. He's going to stay out
Wait till
there.
July.
We'll see. The Marlins, 23 feels a little low. I don't know why they're low. Did they lose players? They lost, who's the outfielder that hit 30 bombs?
Soler.
Yes.
He has not. Did he sign? Did I miss that part of the stove?
Well, maybe he didn't sign yet, but is he going back to the Marlins?
I mean, I imagine if you hit 30 bombs to try and get yourself out of Miami, but
unless you want to stay in Miami. Miami's probably
he's focused on winning.
Maybe. But the Marlins are 23rd on this one. The Mets are 18th, so bottom half. I love that.
Too high for me.
That's, all right. I just love that they're 18th. Padres are 16th, just so you know. They should probably be lower after losing Soto and Hader and eventually Blake Snell. They should probably be lower than 16th.
Nah, let them live in whatever world.
Right. I'll give you your top 10. Honorable mention, the Seattle Mariners coming in at number 11. The Toronto Blue Jays are at number 10. The D-backs, your defending NL champions, are at number 9. Interesting. And they actually had a decent offseason.
Yeah.
They've had a better offseason than the Phillies.
They were like, wow, look.
They've had a better – that's the problem. The Arizona Diamondbacks have had a better offseason than the Phillies. Now, the Phillies roster on paper was already better than the Diamondbacks roster on paper. And so the Diamondbacks had areas to improve. But they've had a better offseason than the Phillies. Eduardo Rodriguez, Eugenio Suarez, and Jock Peterson, former Philly.
Yeah, he was...
Because people jumped on an Instagram post.
He was a great Philly there for 20 minutes.
But the D-backs coming in at number 9.
Can we also talk about his mindset posting that?
Yeah, it was weird.
We never broke down the fact that he actually did post that and no deal was closed.
Yeah.
Just was having fun.
I guess so. They coming at 9. The Tampa Bay Rays coming at number 8. The Yankees will forever be a top 10 team. It doesn't matter what happens to them, and no matter what their collapses are. They coming at number 7. And coming in at number 6 are your Philadelphia Phillies.
Not even top 5. Brutal.
Because they've done nothing. Here's the write-up for the Phillies. Other than re-signing Aaron Nola and making a run at Yamamoto, it's been a quiet offseason. They showed interest in relievers Jordan Hicks and Robert Stevenson, but failed to sign either one. For now, that leaves Christopher Sanchez as the number 5 starter, rookie Orion Kirkering with a prominent role in the bullpen, and Johan Rojas and Christian Pache in center field with Brandon Marsh in left. In other words, the Phillies didn't make up any ground in the Braves. Yeah.
Wait. They didn't make up any ground in the team they beat in the last 2 seasons?
I think they mean like trying to win the division and not having to rely on the wild card, even though there's 3 teams and they're going to be better than the other 2 teams for the most part.
So, okay, I get.
All right, you could throw out that last line.
Yeah, but I get the on paper thing, like what you're trying to say. Yes, no, I'm not encouraged. I don't think banking on being the wild card team and taking advantage of them. The issue is for me, like the whole, did they do enough to catch them? Did they do enough to put themselves in a position to win a World Series?
Right.
So this is not a Phillies-Braves thing for me, especially when I've watched them beat the Braves the last 2 seasons. I was having this conversation literally this weekend with Braves fans.
Okay.
Which, yeah, I don't know how I worked myself into that situation. But they were talking about it. I was like, the difference in that series has been who started Game 3.
Right, exactly.
And guess who started Game 3 both those times?
Ranger Danger.
No.
Oh, no,
Aaron.
sorry.
This is a Nola thing.
Game 1, and then it was Wheeler.
The fact that you have Ranger allows you to allows Nola. But the difference has been that the Braves haven't had someone ready to go that can actually deliver you that Game 3, that pivotal, because it's been 1-1, go back to Philly, Nola shuts down the Braves and the Phillies.
2 years ago, it was Strider on a pitch count.
Right.
Because he was hurt.
And, I'm as big a Reese fan as anyone else. Strider left that ball right there. You got to hit it out of the park when you get it, and he did. So all credit to Reese on that one. But that's been the difference. And, okay, is Chris Sale the guy that delivers them to the promised land?
No, but I think the thing that bothers me is that they have tried to do all kinds. They've signed relievers. Their bullpen was a mess last year. They've signed relievers. They've at least tried. The Phillies have literally made re-signed Nola.
I am not excusing the Phillies on that one. I'm just saying, looking at the two sides, looking as we build up, that line bothered me at the end because I don't think it's a Phillies-Braves thing. It's have the Phillies done enough to put a product on the field where I can say, I think they're going to win a World Series.
And the line before, by the way, he says Johan Rojas, who by all accounts is, according to Rob Thompson himself, probably going to start the season in the minors.
Is he?
I don't know. He's looking yoked out there.
It seems like that might have been a nice little hey, Rojas, go work hard this offseason, and we're going to have you. Because what have they done to tell you that Rojas is going to be
nothing?
Nothing. If they went out and signed someone, you're like, okay, that makes sense. Rojas be in the minor leagues. Are we going to go Pache, opening day center fielder, because we want Rojas to grow in the minor leagues? I mean, it just kind of seems like he's going to. They might have said it, but to me, it feels like it's trending the opposite way.
Okay. I'll take your word for it.
I mean, that's just me.
He's working hard.
I think he put out a hype video. I think I saw people posting, which the hype video is always a concern.
Yeah, I saw Furkan Korkmaz light a rim on fire.
Hey, point Furk.
Embarrassing.
We're going to get some. We got some Korkmaz minutes.
That was one of the most embarrassing things I've ever seen.
We got Korkmaz minutes, man. This team,
you're
Furkan
Korkmaz. You're not allowed to light a rim on fire.
No, you're not. But I anticipate seeing him on the floor tonight.
Now, your top 5. Orioles at 5. I wonder where they would have put them before the Burns trade. But they're at 5. Rangers at number 4. You're defending World Series champions. Still feels weird that they won the World Series. Because I barely watched it.
Oh.
I couldn't.
I watched Game 2.
I told you it was on it. I was at my buddy's 30th birthday party in AC. We were in the sports book, and sure enough, it's on. It's like, I'm disgusted watching this.
Yeah, I showed up to a friend's place, and they had it on.
Yeah.
That was the only thing I watched. I couldn't watch it. It bothered me. It'll bother me for a very long time.
Yeah. Rangers coming in number 3. Astros coming in at number 3. The Bravos coming in at number 2. And shocker, the Dodgers coming in at number 1 with the addition of Ohtani and Yamamoto.
Yeah, that'll do it. That'll put you in the top 5.
All right.
So, yeah, did the Phillies do enough to keep up with the Braves? Did the Phillies do enough?
Right.
One of those two teams will be in your way to get out of the NL.
Yep. All right. Before we get back to the phones, here's the Sixers-related tweet from Peter at Chilled Martini. That's nice.
Hey, all right. Good start.
Appreciate that. No one is arguing that trading Embiid is the same as not having him in the lineup. Trades are about replacement value. Could we get a haul that sets up the Sixers for multiple runs? Get a return on him while he's still, quote, healthy? Maybe improve team balance. I don't know what that means at the end. Team balance. Joel Embiid is the best player on the team.
That just sounds like the Nets owner saying he wants a team that's 41-41 that plays hard.
Yeah. Team balance. No, Joel Embiid's your best player. Without him, you're a playing team. So I don't understand that last line even a little bit. Could we get a haul that sets up the Sixers for multiple runs? Well, that's why I went through that ESPN article where maybe 2 or 3 teams benefited from trading their star player.
It's the Thunder teardown project and the Lakers still having Kobe.
Yes.
Those are your trades. Those are the ones we went through. And the Thunder one, it works for right now while you have a promising future. You like what you're seeing out of the Thunder.
Right.
They have
doesn't mean that they're going to win.
Done with the assets what you would expect to set themselves up to win.
Right.
But
we don't know anything.
And
so I'm not all of a sudden going to say that they did the right thing. We'll see. I don't know. Unbelievable. Baseball news, by the way, before we get back to the phones. Bobby Witt Jr. He came up, last year or 2 years ago? Just started. 11-year deal already with the Royals. Patrick Mahomes' team. Part owner.
Wow. And in terms of,
Is he paying attention to the Super Bowl? 6-1-0.
Patrick Mahomes is negotiating that contract. You want to be the two faces of Kansas City sports forever.
Unbelievable. All right, let's go back to phones. Let's go to Glenn in Philly. What up, Glenn?
How you guys doing?
How you doing, Jay?
Good. So first of all, I agree with the callers who I've heard. I don't want to trade Joe. I know I figure every year he's going to have an injury. I mean, for God's sakes, we got him because he was injured.
Right,
So
right.
we were able to draft him. So for me, I'd rather see how Joe makes out, but I think the guy stole my thunder with Clint Capella. I think Clint Capella would be an adequate starting center while Joe is out. But the bogey that I would want would be the one from Atlanta. If we could get him and Capella some kind of way.
Yeah, the only thing, so last week it broke Ray's heart. Bogdanovich, according to reports, they're now considering him almost untouchable like Trey Young. But okay. I wonder, that could also be a
smoke screen.
Like, hey, got to pay up more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so that's still a possibility. We'll see.
Yeah, so that's the trade I like. And the other one that I wasn't high on at first when Embiid was healthy, but I think what would help us is maybe like a Drummond and a DeRozan. I mean, for DeRozan's shortcomings of not being able to shoot the three consistently or taking enough of them, I think it at least gives you a score to stay afloat to help Tobias and Maxey.
So that's the big thing with DeRozan. I'm not doing it with Joel Embiid on my team. Now I might not have Joel Embiid for the rest of the season because they play the same game. You know what I mean? Like they're both mid range.
You're right. But the thing I was thinking was, and you're absolutely right, but I was thinking that even in the playoffs, if Joe did come back, that at least you have another proven scorer to help. But you're right. I agree. That's why I wasn't high on it, because they do operate in the same area.
And he's a free agent after this season, so, you know.
Which would be fine, I think, if you could clear some of the salary of these guys we won't have anyway.
Right.
It'll be. But and my last point is I love Toby, but I agree with you guys. This is make or break for Tobias. You got your opportunity to shoot, and you got your opportunity to shoot as much as you want and as often.
Yeah, he could shut a lot of people like me up, right? If he plays well during the stretch, and thanks for the call, Glenn. Or this is what I was saying. You know, he got the max contract because Jimmy Butler didn't get it. And he's been a professional basketball player. I like Tobias Harris. That's the thing, right? This whole crumble cookie thing, right?
Casual.
I like Tobias Harris. I think he could be a 20-a-game scorer. Not on this tier, the way it was with James Harden, right? It just didn't necessarily fit. Now, he's averaging 18 a game this year, so he's still pretty close to it, right? Now with Joe out, he didn't play against the Nets. Before that, against the Jazz, the game that Maxey drops 51, he scored 28. Game before that, against the Warriors, where Joe did play, he scored 26. He's got to live there now. Like, he has to live in that 25. Like, I don't want to put too much pressure on the max player. From here on out, fair to ask for 22 a game? It's 4 more than his average.
Yeah. I mean, the usage especially.
Like, I'm not asking for 30. I'm asking for 22, 24 a game from here on out the rest of the season.
Yeah. Yeah.
Am I asking too much of my max contract player?
No.
Assassin scorer?
No.
Guy that he's a good ball player. I don't hate Tobias Harris. I just haven't liked his fit on these teams ever since they signed him to the max contract. He hasn't fit. He's not a spot-up shooter. He's a guy that can attack. He's a guy that can post up. When Embiid's at the top and sometimes Tobias in that dunker spot or he's in the corner, he's on the, like, you could do a lot of things with Tobias Harris. He is a NBA player. He's a good basketball player. He just hasn't been a fit, which is that's been my biggest beef. But he can step up here and he can get himself paid.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's a big thing. Again, for this entire group, I know one caller pointed out earlier, like, hey, a lot of you guys can make yourselves a lot of money right now.
Yeah.
With, the fact that you don't have a contract next season and your usage on this team is going to be going up. Like, I don't think it's too much to ask Tobias when you say 4 to 6 more points per game. I mean, you're replacing the leading scorer in the NBA. That scoring has to go somewhere.
Right, it has to.
It doesn't have to, technically. You could just lose a lot of basketball games the rest of the way. You don't have to score those points.
Like 70 points a game.
But you would imagine that someone has to step up and start that. And, obviously.
They play ferocious defense. Dude, it'll be like the Pistons.
We're
from 04 when they beat the Lakers, and I think the highest score was like 80 points.
Yeah, there you go. That'll be the brand. Well, it's bully ball. Let's
get Ben Wallace out here.
No. We need to go get that 1920 Sixers team. Just rerun that back.
No, absolutely.
We're just going to be taller than you.
We got this. All right. We have one segment left. Best show ever coming your way at 2 o'clock. We'll continue the calls. Reaction to the news about Joel Embiid. I'll play you the clip from Shams Charania once more on the other side, and I will let you know what Keith Pompey, who covers the team for a living every day, right? What he thinks the Sixers should do at the trade deadline, which is Thursday. That's the biggest bummer. Like, the trade deadline is Thursday. And that juice of getting excited what they should do, man, does that go away pretty quickly. I'm Andrew Salchunas, the Midday Show, right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Happy Super Bowl from FanDuel in partnership with Valley Forge. It's America's #1 sports book. Super Bowl Sunday is all about the best seat on the couch, your favorite snacks, and placing some super bets. You can find a way to win 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 bets, depending on what you're doing come Super Bowl Sunday, as long as you're doing it responsibly. I've been telling you right now that I like Travis Kelce's over in receptions. Just so you know, by the way, the 49ers are 2.5-point favorites. I like Kansas City in this game, especially when we're already getting, the built-in excuse that the practice field is not good for the 49ers. Unbelievable. By the way, Travis Kelce's over-under for receptions is 6.5. I really like the over. Bet on who will win the Super Bowl. All the prop bets that you can do. New customers join today and get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/Fanatic to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/Fanatic and make every moment more of FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. You got to be 21 plus and present in PA. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
975thefanatic.com.
It is 1:20. Here on the Midday Show, 97.5 The Fanatic. I'm Andrew South Tunis, 1 o'clock hour, brought to us by Ferguson HVAC Line Conklin. Attention HVAC contractors. For equipment parts and supplies for every heating and cooling job, visit one of Ferguson's counter locations in Bensalem, King of Prussia, Pennsauken, or Westchester. Now, shame on me. Before we get to the phones, back to the phones, and before I play you the clip from Shams and talk a little bit about what Keith Pompey had to say earlier today about what the Sixers should do at the deadline, now that we know more about Joel Embiid. I tweeted out about it, but forgive me, I have not brought up on the show yet. Dude, Carl Weathers, man. Passed away on Friday. We just talked about him earlier in the week. We were talking about the Gronk commercials. Because Gronk and Carl Weathers was, there to help him make the kick. That's why when I saw the news on Friday, I was like, what? I just saw him on TV. We just talked about it. But yeah, Carl Weathers, man, passes away on Friday. Sad news. Obviously, Apollo Creed, right? If you've listened to the Midday Show 5 years with Ant and I, Rocky was brought up often. We had a lot of fun bringing up a lot of the, the movie lines and, Apollo, a lot of just, it's funny. Like my childhood, as you know, and Ray, you're in the same boat as me with the weird movies. Like, haven't watched many, but I imagine that you watched, whenever you did watch something, you watched it like on repeat, or did you just not watch movies at all?
I mean, I watched movies for sure, but the repeat thing is if I find a comfort movie, I'll flip it on. But,
so as a kid, like Rocky was on in my house all the time. I loved it, dude. I couldn't get enough of it. Okay. So Apollo, the other movie I couldn't get enough of, Happy Gilmore.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw Adam Sandler, the Sandman, tweet about it, it broke my heart, man. Chubbs. And then I was also a big Predator fan as a kid. Loved that movie. And he was Agent George in that movie. That just sucks.
Just one of those things. Every time you start
son of a bitch.
Every time you start to go through like the resume with Carl Weathers, and it was happening, live on the air. It happened during the best show ever on Friday.
That's right, yeah.
So every time you start going through it, he was in that. Oh, he was fantastic in that. Oh yeah, I remember from you just start to roll down just the IMDb page. And it's like,
and you're like, oh my God, he's in so many things.
Yeah.
Football guy, played for the Raiders for like a couple games. It's awesome. Yeah, so that was tough seeing that on Friday, especially when he's been active on commercials. And what was is he Star Wars guy?
Mandalorian. Yep.
Mandalorian. Okay, it's not in my wheelhouse, but that means he was doing shows recently, right?
Yeah, I mean
that's a show. It's not.
That's a TV series. Look at you.
Thank you. I'm hit.
Okay, let's not go too far.
So sad news on Friday with Carl Weathers passing away. That was a bummer. All right. Let me get to Brian first because Brian's been waiting, and then I'll play you this Sham Sharani report from this morning, and then also what Keith Pompey had to say in response to what the Sixers should do come Thursday's trade deadline. But let's go to Brian in East Falls. What's up, Brian?
What's going on, Tunis? How you feeling?
Here I am.
Well, I'm hoping I can brighten your spirits with this. So last year, I think people forget that we don't have Glenn coaching this team anymore. First off,
yeah, how's he doing in Milwaukee?
I don't know yet. So
I think they've not won a game yet, right? They're 0-3.
I'm not sure. Maybe. I'm glad. I'm just glad he's not here. I focus on the Sixers like that. That's my.
Oh, they're 1-3. They beat the Mavs on Saturday, so they're 1-3 with Glenn.
Right. But so about Nick Nurse. Nick Nurse has. I believe he has the potential. He cracks full potential out of every player on this team. Like Tyrese Maxey, for example. How many 50-point games does he have this year? 4 or 5?
Something like that.
Tobias Harris, who we're all hoping to step up. Last year, he was averaging 14.7 points a game. This year, he's up to 18, and I believe that's going to jump up, like you said, another 4 points or so.
It better, or we're going to have a conversation.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like now, with Embiid definitely being out, he's able to game plan in a whole different way to unlock the full potential out of every player that we have. And I believe, and listen, I don't think we should do anything at the trade deadline. I think we should just ride this year out. Tobias comes off the books next year. We have some draft capital to trade. There's going to be some free agents. I think the move to make is next year and the shoot for the championship next year.
So, all right. So Do you think they can still compete this year?
I do believe that I do believe they can compete this year, and if Embiid comes back, that's great. If not, it is what it is. But I believe next year is like the window. I think Embiid is like a year-to-year window. There's not like you can't put a timeline on a window with him to win a championship. And I think and I believe next year, with, like I said, with everything that's going to happen, I think that's what Daryl Morey's going to wait for.
Okay.
I think he's going to be patient. I don't want DeMar DeRozan. Why, like you said, he's a mid-range shooter like
mid-range.
Like, why would we? Why would
and
we
plus, he's
want
a
that?
free agent, so who knows what you're going to have to give up for him.
And who else is out there? Zach LaVine's hurt. Like, that's what I'm saying. There's not a player that I would want.
Unless you make that trade thinking of the prospects down the line, right? Like, if you want Zach LaVine to be a part of your big three with Maxey and Embiid, you would bring him on because you have that slot still with the max contract. And thanks for the call, Brian. And then, next year after Harris is gone, then you give Maxey the max, and now you're going with that big three, even though LaVine might be – I think he's going to be missing like 2 months almost, so he might not even be back for the playoffs either. Yeah, I mean, so here's the thing. So he says he thinks they could still compete this year because of Nick Nurse. Now, here's the question. And my answer is no. As much as I love Maxey, can Maxey be Kawhi? Right? Like, the Raptors, yeah, they won an NBA championship. And Nick Nurse coached up a lot of guys. Van Vliet, Siakam, young player right at the time. Got a lot out of Serge Ibaka. Gasol on that team, right? Yeah, Marc Gasol. He coached up a lot of guys. He had Kawhi. I say this respectfully. I don't know if Maxey can be Kawhi. He would have to average like 35 a game in every playoff round. And also the defense that Kawhi, a little bit different there. Without Embiid, you're not contending this year. With Nick Nurse or not, you're not contending.
Yeah, to put the rest of this on Nick Nurse, yes, it is to get the max out of the team, to try and put this team in the best position for when they get the big man back. I understand that, but coaches can only do so much for you out there when you're without the MVP of the league.
Right.
There's a reason why, the abbreviation MVP, most valuable player, that value is something that's shown out there.
Pretty big deal.
I'm not letting Nick Nurse off the hook for the end of this season. I'm not going to learn anything about him the rest of the way, but I also am not going to make any sweeping
once he lost Embiid, he showed his true colors.
Yeah.
Good coach.
I can't. I don't know. The MVP seemed to have gotten better. Maxey seems to have taken a leap.
Yeah, nobody's saying.
I feel pretty good. I understand where the thought process is. So look, Nurse
he
could be able
coached
to
up
work
that team, but he had Kawhi, which
Yeah.
is Tobias the next Kawhi Leonard? Didn't we hear that at one point?
Oh, stop.
I know that was Zaire. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, wait.
Zaire. Zaire.
There we go.
Yeah, the next Kawhi. My ass.
Sorry.
All right, let's play the Shams thing in a second. But Kellen Moore officially now announced as the offensive coordinator of the Eagles. So I have a statement from one head coach, Nick Sirianni.
Oh, boy.
As an accomplished offensive coordinator, a former NFL player, and a Heisman finalist, Kellen has shown a tremendous ability to lead an offense at every level of the sport while gaining the trust and respect of his players and teammates. He is an incredibly smart football coach whose depth of knowledge of the game has helped him become a talented play caller in this league. During Kellen's tenure as an NFL coach, he has helped to develop some of the best quarterbacks in the league and directed some of its best offenses. We are thrilled to have Kellen join our team. Here's how I know Nick Sirianni did not say that. There was no mention of family. There was no, and like I said, is a crutch for him. It starts with me. There's no, it starts with me. And that.
Now, I do look forward to the first time he's asked about it in a media session. Yeah. It's like, well,
we'll compare the two.
Even just like, well, I got on the phone with my brother, and he was telling me all about, I can't believe you guys got Kellen. Kellen's done this, Kellen's done that. I'm excited for that. I'm excited for when he walks us into one of those tales. Or, I think one of the fun things, I love that they mentioned Heisman finalist. That one is just a great line.
A great throw-in.
It's like, you think Hurts and Moore are going to get along better because they're both Heisman finalists. They can relate to one another. There's a relatability in that room that hasn't been there before. I think that's a great throw-in line there of a Heisman finalist. Like, congrats.
No, you need it, man. You need it. All right. Shams earlier today gave an update about Joel Embiid. We've played it a couple of times. The more and more I hear it, the worse and worse I feel. But take a listen to what Shams said about Joe.
Joel Embiid has a meniscus tear in his left knee. He had multiple evaluations, doctoral consultations. He went through decision-making on whether you rest and rehab this meniscus injury. It's a displaced flap of the meniscus. That's a type of tear. But he decided to undergo surgery very soon. I'm told that the hope is that Embiid misses 1 to 2 months. That's the best case minimum scenario, and that would dictate a potential return late in the season. Only the severity of the tear, the procedure itself will determine exactly how long he's going to be out. If a full repair is needed in surgery, Michelle, that's going to be a significantly longer recovery time period than just 1 to 2 months. And this is absolutely brutal for the Sixers because now Joel Embiid will no longer be eligible for MVP, but even beyond that, the way he was performing this year, he was on pace to be an MVP. He was on pace to be the scoring title yet again this season. His season is now in jeopardy. We know all along this year, I've said it, Joel Embiid has only been focused on wanting to win a championship, being healthy for when it matters most, and that's the playoffs. And he's been managing his body. The Sixers have been managing his body for that. And for it to fail on him now, it's obviously a devastating time for him and the Sixers. They will have a chance. If Joel Embiid's able to make it back late this season, they're going to have a chance. They won't know until the doctors go in there, perform that surgery, and see exactly how long Joel Embiid will miss. But at minimum, 1 to 2 months.
It just gets worse and worse the more and more you hear it. Then you start hearing stuff like his season's in jeopardy. Now, I imagine that means regular season, but it might mean more depending on how bad this injury is, which we won't find out until probably later this week.
Why wouldn't you just say regular season if you meant regular season?
Well, yeah, exactly. And so, you're sitting here, we're picking apart every single word that he has to say, and you go, all right, so he's going to miss time, and at best 1 to 2 months. And if it's 1 month, I would push it to 2, close to 2. Let him gear up with a couple of games of the regular season at the end and then have him play in the playoffs. But, that's best case scenario. And not everything is always best case scenario. And they don't even know themselves. They're assuming that if it's one thing, it's 1 to 2 months. If it's the other thing, it's end of season. And if it's the end of the season, then that does it. It's the end of the season for the Sixers, unfortunately. So we had Keith on earlier today, and Keith was talking about what to do at the trade deadline. And we'll revisit this as the week goes on, especially when we get information. I would imagine that the surgery's done by Thursday. They have to know. I know they can't force Joe into getting the surgery at any time, but
hey, man. Listen, I think we got to make some phone calls here. If you're a top surgeon around here working on the menisci, we need you to be...
Dr. James Andrews is around here, right?
I don't know.
Isn't he in Philadelphia? He's in Philly a lot of times.
Sure.
So Dr. James Andrews, get him on the phone. Have him work on it.
I don't know anything when it comes to this, okay? I'm reading a script that says displaced flap of his meniscus. Right. I didn't know a meniscus had flaps.
Well, we've had a couple of great callers call in and explain.
And I appreciate
what the flap's all about.
But what I'm telling you, from my caveman understanding of everything going on with the human body here, everyone that is in line to get your menisci looked at, guess what? You are now one step further back in line. Joel Embiid has to cut the line here in this city to go first to get that meniscus taken care of. And we need to find a doctor to do it today. That's my caveman take on that.
Yeah, well.
I don't understand medicals, but you know what I'm going to tell you here? I need that thing taken care of before we get to the deadline.
All right, so you want more info on the flap?
Would love to hear about the flap.
Well, let me get the bio here. So, Dr. Nicholas Denubile.
Obviously.
Tweeted out yesterday.
I think he's a good friend of Bob Cooney's.
Is he?
No.
Everybody's a good friend.
Yeah, I just assume. That's drop the name there.
Here's the bio. Orthopedic surgeon. #SportsMed. #team physician. Best-selling author and advised 2 U.S. presidents. How about that?
Okay.
Dedicated to keeping you healthy in body, mind, and spirit.
Okay.
All right.
My spirit and mind, not actually all three, probably
But
suffering. Right
he's dedicated. All right, so Dr. Nick tweets this out yesterday. This was at 11:05 p.m. So this is like well after Woj's.
So he's reflected
report.
upon this.
Yes. Per my prior posts and my recommendations, it appears Joel Embiid will be having arthroscopic surgery to deal with his flat tear lateral meniscus. Correct move, as those types of tears will not heal and will worsen over time, especially in big guy with repetitive high-impact loading and off-balance landings, necessitating even more meniscal removal. Meniscal, not menisci.
No. I think that's just
Okay,
describing.
sorry, yeah.
Well, that's not multiple menisci.
You're right. That's a good point.
Come on.
Not good for knee in the long run, in the future. Only thing I don't understand is Sixers saying he will be out, quote, extended period of time. If meniscus is trimmed and flap removed, 20-plus minute procedure through tiny incisions, then recovery will usually be relatively quick, average 6 to 8 weeks, some sooner, some longer. I would hope 4 to 6 weeks, especially if he works hard and maintains conditioning during recovery. If, however, this is in all caps, if, however, meniscus is repaired / stitched, not usually the case with flap tears and something I would not typically recommend, then recovery would be prolonged. Meniscus is slow healer and no running for 4 months, and meniscus sometimes doesn't even heal. So hopefully a quick trim, not a repair stitch with a speedy and not extended recovery. Stay tuned.
So, okay. Again, not a doctor, so I'm going to just try and take...
He is a doctor.
Yeah, no, I understand. I'm not. So I'm taking his words as a non-doctor here and trying to apply it to the sports that we're talking about here. When he says he's confused by their extended period, I mean, I would venture to say 6 to 8 weeks of an NBA season is an extended period of time.
That's a good
Especially
point.
when you're pushing for... Because
literally 6 to 8 weeks is...
the rest of the regular season.
If it's
pretty
8
much.
weeks, that's 1 week before the playoffs.
Yeah, so
Or 2
that's extended, There's 34 games left. If he misses 30 of them, that's extended. That's almost, 3/8 of your season? Working close to 40% of your season. And he's going to end up missing more than half your season with the amount of games already if we work on that timeline. So that would be an extended absence. So I think maybe this is me trying to, I say all the time, you try and find the belief of what you want in reports. Maybe their extended period of time when they're saying that he's going to be out for an extended period of time, that's the way of warning you, hey, the regular season for him might be close to over or over entirely.
Well, let's hope that that's not the case.
Yeah, but that's what extended means to me.
Yeah, I hear you.
And he's talking about 6 to 8 weeks. And he mentions the 4 to 6. We've been pretty clear on this one. I don't need to rush him back, especially if he's talking about him maintaining conditioning and nothing really gets you in game shape, especially ready for the postseason.
I'm taking my time with him. And I'm sure they will too, because the whole MVP thing, that's done, right? There's no reason to have a speedy recovery. Speedy in terms of you're still risking more injury.
Right.
Take your time. Now, I'll ask you, because we've talked about this a little bit. So Keith Pompey was on earlier, and he said that he would probably think it'd be best for the Sixers to not do anything with the trade deadline. Do you have the clip? All right, let's take a listen.
I saw last week where, people were saying it's not going to impact whatever Joel does. It's not going to impact how they're going to approach the trade deadline. Right now, I feel like it has to. You ask yourself with this team right now, this team is 4-10 without Joel Embiid. Last year, they were better because they had a guy like James Harden who is known to be a lead guy who can take command. But right about now, you're looking at it and, you think that, okay, well, we got to get somebody in here. But at the same time, do you have the assets to be able to get somebody? And how much is that person going to help you with the last 2 months of the season, right? Are you just going to reinvent everything? I mean, I don't know if the Sixers should go out there and, waste assets and do all this stuff on a guy who probably won't get them there. I don't know how much that I'm trying to upgrade this roster to, make it the second round?
Yeah, that's what sucks, right? Because it's always about the second round. So he's talking about, you wouldn't make a trade for somebody that you're going to trade for a rental. You could make the trade where it's the handshake agreement, which is why we talked about Siakam and OG earlier today, because those were two guys where it looks like the Knicks and the Pacers both made their respective move because they have the understanding that they're going to be kept signed as max contract players. So then if you want to really start thinking about it, all right, so who are those players? LeBron, which, look, it's fun. I tweeted out about future Sixer LeBron James when he had Embiid's back the other day. If Embiid's not playing, LeBron's not coming, right? Like, let's just end it right there. Paul George, I know people keep on pointing to the fact that he hasn't worked out the extension yet with the Clippers. I don't see him leaving L.A. It's L.A. He's not leaving. Klay Thompson, I'm not going after. No.
Ooh.
No. Tobias, James Harden, Pascal Siakam obviously is going to sign the extension. Drew Holiday's with the Celtics. And now I'm at Gordon Hayward. Like, no.
This is fun.
Yeah, these are the free agents after the season that you could have the handshake agreement in. Kyle Lowry's going to get bought out. At one point, it was maybe the Sixers will get him. Kyle Lowry want to come here now? Remember last week with the caller talk about the buyout market?
Yeah.
That's pretty much out the window. Unless guys just want to play.
Hey, you're going to get a lot of minutes. You can earn yourself a role in the playoff rotation. There's a chance that Joel Embiid will be back. And if Joel Embiid's back, there's a chance he'll be ready to go for the postseason and a chance you'll play for a team that is. And again, I think from our perspective, Philadelphia-centric, we look at it like, oh, well, why would you come here? There's inherent risk wherever you sign that something's going to happen. Here is riskier than anywhere else right now, given the health of the MVP of the league. So I do think you might attract something, but they haven't been good enough to attract the top of the buyout market anyways in the past. So I'm not going to sit here and think this is the year.
They haven't been, which is why I responded to the caller that way last week. Like, I'm not relying on buyout markets. We've talked about DeMar DeRozan. There's Buddy Hield. Like, are the Pacers going to – their Pacers aren't going to trade him. They're contending. Mike Conley. Oh, my God. He's still in the league. Bruce Brown, I know, is a name that's popped up a lot. He's got a club option, so you could still have him for next year. You wouldn't have to worry about handshake agreements. But is Bruce Brown going to save the season for you? No.
No, a lot of these targets were with Embiid in mind.
Right, exactly.
Which, again, is why you need this surgery to happen.
Yeah, to find out. You got to find out what the deal is.
I'm not rushing someone to a surgery table, but I in my head, I'm like, if we don't have that information by Thursday, the last thing I want to see them do is stand pat.
Right, I don't want to see them stand pat, but we'll see. I mean, there's just a lot of the free agent class is not fun. So, and we're now at the part like I'm at JaVale McGee.
We're extending. That was one of the things we talked about back before the season when the conversation was, oh, should they punt this season? It's like, no, you haven't beaten in his prime.
Yeah,
and relying on next season's crop of free agents is relying on
Jaylen Brown, and the Celtics ended that pretty quickly.
Right.
In the offseason.
And now you're just assuming that Anunoby and that Siakam are going to be locked up. And hey, something could happen there. You could think back to Butler being here on his expiring contract.
Right. You're right. And then they did the sign and trade.
Would you expect them to get into a fight with, or not get into a fight, but have a disagreement with the coaching and not love everything about the organization? Like, would you expect that? No. Could it happen? Yes. Am I going to bank my future on, hey, maybe Siakam or Anunoby are upset with where they're at after getting traded there? Probably not.
Right.
Like, sucks.
Yeah.
Be frank about it. I mean,
sucks.
I'm not going to try and pull you out of where you're at. The one thing is, his season is not over yet.
No, it's
that
not.
Is the one thing.
That's
like, if you want to hold on,
we got to wait for that.
If you want to hold on to one thing, you have not gotten that news yet. The timing of it is ideal in the sense of there's a chance for him to get better for the postseason.
Right.
The timing of it is incredibly, incredibly poor when it comes to actually putting the team around him to go about competing in the postseason.
Right. All right, by the way, before we get back to the phones, did you watch any of the Grammys last night? I don't watch.
No, I got home in time for my timeline to be filled with Billy Joel. So I watched the Billy Joel performance. And
our algorithms are different, man.
And Chapman and Tracy Chapman and Luke Combs,
which is awesome.
Car, which is
really cool. I got Miley all over the timeline.
Oh well, I mean yes, Miley was all over my timeline, but I don't count that. That's red carpet watching. That's different.
No. I got even her on stage singing. Like,
oh yeah, no, I didn't get that. I got the red carpet walk.
Very talented.
Yeah. I agree.
I'm a big fan of Miley.
Yes.
Big fan of Miley.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, listen.
I know she said she can buy herself flowers, but I'd send her a bouquet.
Hey, I'm looking for a Valentine, Miley. Listen, I'm here.
Hey,
you let me know.
You got 9 days. Figure it out.
610-632-0975.
Let's go to Karate Mark. What up, KM?
You guys crack me up, man.
Listen, man. She did a good job yesterday.
Hey, she didn't look half bad. Ray, buy her some flowers. Maybe she'll give you a call. See what happens. You got, like Andrew said, you got 9 days.
You got 9 days.
Yo, Ray, I am not a doctor. I'd like to preface that by saying I'm not a doctor. But I've had both meniscus torn multiple times, so maybe I could bring a little. Oh,
I like this. I always like this. And you're a very active person too, which helps. Like it's one thing when somebody's not very active says, "Oh man, my meniscus recovery took a long time," but you're a very active man.
I've had a meniscus tear where I've played sport at 100%. I've had a meniscus tear where it was literally a millimeter large, and I begged my doctor for surgery, anything to take away the pain. What we all do know is this flap that they're talking about.
Okay.
And the flap, we're not going to know if it gets lasered off, just basically burned off, or cut off, or sewn back together. From least to worst, those are your options. If it gets lasered off, then it's going to be swollen and it's going to hurt horribly, and he's going to be out for 4 weeks minimum.
Okay.
And then you have recovery time as far as NBA recovery time. The knee, if he just gets it lasered, the knee is good in 4 weeks. Now, how fast, how strong can you be after that?
Right. Because it's not just he gets a surgery 4 weeks back and boom, he's MVP and beat again.
Correct. If you have to get it sewn together, you now add 2 to 4 weeks minimum to the recovery time, but then your post-recovery is very different because if they sewed it back on, you have very, very high options of it re-tearing post-surgery if you go back to sport too early. You're looking at 8 weeks minimum. So why do we not have these answers? Ray, how come we have to wait a few more days?
Yeah, come on, Ray. You're the producer of the show.
You can't get those answers through MRI because of the swelling, and you can't do surgery if it's too swollen. So if he hasn't had surgery yet, it's too swollen to do the surgery. They have to let it relieve itself a little bit so they can go in there and actually see what they're looking at.
So it's one thing for me to say, you got to get it done before the trade deadline. It's another thing, they literally can't.
When the knee allows it to get done.
Oh, man. Well, I appreciate your input, KM.
Like I said, caveman take on this. I don't know how swollen it is. Like, that's the thing. I know. And I know, like, this is not me saying, wow, Embiid doesn't care about the team, he's delaying. No, this is me just saying this timing is awful.
Terrible. It's literally Thursdays, the trade deadline.
Again, for building the team around him. Good timing in terms of, hey, maybe he'll be back.
Right.
Bad timing in terms of, hey, what are we going to build around him to make sure that we maximize him when he's
what
back?
moves are going to be.
Right.
Now, you right up on the screen, I have former Philly news, and I just saw it. Go ahead.
Nick Maton, designated for assignment.
Yeah, he's a really good ball player.
Hey, man, you never know. You need to change the scenery.
I just remember, oh my God, my head hurts. Oh, my God, how could you get rid of Fearling and Maton? Now, look, I know Gregor Soto didn't light the world on fire.
Which I know you're about to try and turn this on. I was pro that trade.
No,
I want that very clear.
I'm saying,
before you start to turn this into a raise of vibes guy.
I'm not going to do that.
I liked Soto. I liked that deal.
I do remember you saying, and I quote, I miss Nick Maton, or I'm going to miss Nick Maton. It was one of the two.
Probably something like that.
That
does sound
like me. I
forget
when the conversation was, and I remembered.
That was Connor Thomas and I. We both had that stance.
Questioning just everything in life.
Wolfie, man.
Yeah.
Hey,
he got
DFA'd
by the Tigers.
They were 21 and 29 when Maton got called back up. Okay, you want to go with your little Girardi firing thing. Maton came up, and hey, listen, numbers never lie.
You're telling me Maton sparked the team.
Numbers never lie.
He had some great moments with the Phillies. I know it.
Listen, the Sixers.
You know how it's like good moments with the Phillies this year? Cody Clemens.
The Sixers.
Like, come on, man. Like, these guys are a dime a dozen.
6 games under 500 without Embiid. The Phillies were 8 games under 500 without Nick Maton.
Oh, God, you disgust me.
Numbers never lie.
You disgust me.
I can't help myself.
So, yeah, good for you, Nick Maton. Maybe maybe he'll come back.
Nah, man, I'll find another team.
I'll buy you a Maton jersey. How about that? If he comes back, I'll get you a Maton.
That's fine. You know I'll rock it, too.
I'm going to have to customize it.
I got a John Mayberry Jr. Jersey.
That's just
worn down to the
disgusting.
ballpark. Oh, don't you dare turn on JMJ like that.
Best show ever coming your way next. Everybody have a great rest of your Monday. Hopefully we can have some more fun tomorrow. It just wasn't great news yesterday. Fingers crossed, everybody. I'm Andrew Salchunas. This was the Midday Show right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.